Chapter 205 Shameless. This soup was used to cook processed pig heart, pig blood, small intestine, pig stomach and pig liver. Chopped garlic sprouts, shallots and ginger pieces were added to cook a large bowl of delicious and rich hodgepodge. Xian processed every piece very carefully and even washed them with flour. She put in a lot of rice wine, star anises, gingers, pepper so there was no strange smell in the end. The wild boar was so large and the inner organs could not be finished in just one dinner. So, Xian asked Miss Su to cut them into slices, deep fry them and stew with chilies so that a jar of chili sauce could be preserved for 8 or 10 days. There was one big pig head that was roasted over fire, and dried in the shadow for future braising. Early the next morning, the first section of the Xiao family got very busy. Miss Fang had everything arranged neatly so things went on smoothly. Xian's job was to help Miss Fang in receiving relatives and getting to know them, whilst checking and urging those helpers from the second and third section of the family to work harder in case they messed things up. Xian was pleased with the task and nodded happily. Xian did not allow Lu Yan to show up on wedding day. She was ordered to stay in the wing room. A lot of helpers were asked to give a helping hand at the wedding so they had plenty of labor forces. Lu Yan was a ticking bomb that should not show up in public. Lu Yan was very interested in watching the wedding of a village, but Xian did not allow her to do so, and she did not dare to counter the order. She had already understood what Second Miss could do, so she did not object. Second Miss did not even need to do anything about her personally. All she would do was to throw her to the second section of the family, and she would be engulfed in endless misery. Dressed in a red robe, Xiao the groom smiled stupidly. He went to the Yang family to fetch his bride. He was riding on the donkey, surrounded by the reception team. Xiao Dalong, Xiao Yunduan, Xiao Xiaoqi as well as the sons from the second section of the family and young men from the village all tagged along. Xiao Luleng did not show up. According to third uncle, he was working very hard in college and should not be distracted. After all, he had made plenty of progress and did not want to be disturbed. Eldest uncle understood it completely. Being able to read was very important because it was related to what the future would look like for them. Miss Fang snorted and rolled her eyes. It was just an excuse. It did not take much effort to attend a wedding. Even the emperor was not as busy as he was. He must feel humiliated to come over. Yunduan was already a cultivated talent, yet he was nothing more than a disciple. He was afraid of being compared. He would have still come over, if Yunduan's wife was not the daughter of the county magistrate. Miss Fang thought that her husband was so stupid that believed what third uncle said. Yang Xiani's wedding gown was delivered by a messenger from Miss Fang's side. It was delivered directly to third Grandma Yang's home, so she could help Yang Xiaoni get dressed on the wedding day. When third Grandma Yang, together with some relatives, brought the gown to her home, Miss Tian's face sank. Miss Tian knew clearly that she was the one that they were trying to hide from. Yang Xiaoni was finally moving out of home as a bride, with the help of third Grandma Yang and the other relatives. But Miss Tian kept crying loudly. She kept saying that she and her husband had spent so much effort in raising Yang Xiaoni and helped her get married by finding a good family. Her point was that Yang Xiaoni should come home often enough to visit her brother and sister-in-law. Chapter 206. Not an easy deal. Hearing those words, Yang Liang did feel a bit moved and could not help but rub his eyes. The couple's behavior disgusted the whole audience. Despite the disgusted feelings, the members from the Yang family could not help but tell her to stay assured. However, Xiao Sanlang did not restrain himself and embarrassed Miss Tian and Yang Liang, seeing that his wife was already in the litter. Brother, sister-in-law? Xiao Sanlang said with a smile, I feel so moved that you treat Xiaoni well. Kindly show us the dowry so we can go to do the ceremony. We can't miss the right hour, can we? Suddenly silence dominated the whole place. Miss Tian, who was shedding tears, burst out. There is no dowry. You told us that we did not have to offer any dowry. You are breaking the promise. Xiao Sanlang rolled his eyes in an exaggerated way and said mockingly, We did say so, but we thought that you care about Xiaoni so much that you are crying so hard and are willing to push the dowry into her hands. Ha 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 ha. Ah ha ha ha. The villagers who were watching the show could not help but chuckle, so did the reception team, who laughed along. Both Yang Liang and Miss Tian were thoroughly embarrassed. Miss Tian glared at Xiao Sanlang and showed no expression of unwillingness to let her sister-in-law go. Xiao Sanlang felt much better seeing her showing the real look. He added, So, are you giving us the dowry or not? You love Xiaoni, don't you? You can show some sincerity after all. Annoyed, Yang Liang snapped. We are too poor to offer you any dowry. Xiao Sanlang laughed. Well, it depends on whether you have the intention. You can give us the money if you have it. If you are too poor to give us any money, you can offer a wardrobe, a table, a basin or a bucket made from the trees in the mountains. We won't turn any of it down. Seeing how you are dressed, you don't look that poor either." Yang Liang was stuck with words. He glared at Xiao Sanlang just as Miss Tian did. Any poor family would at least offer some garments or furniture to the married daughter, if they really loved her. Miss Tian and Yang Liang were a rarely seen set of family. The Xiao family did not care about the dowry as they already said that they did not need any. But it was annoying when the family offered nothing whilst pretending to play the drama that they loved the bride. It was disgusting. How could they get away with a cheap deal of wanting to keep both reputation and stuff as well? Xiao Sanlang was a down-to-earth person, but he could not stand being disgusted to this level. Seeing that the purpose was almost achieved, Xiao Yunduan said, "Third brother, let's leave, we should not miss the right hour." Xiao Sanlang chuckled. "Okay, let's go." Without even looking at Yang Liang and Miss Tian, the team took off. The villagers from the Yang family exchanged a look between themselves and also left. The couple was thoroughly humiliated. But it served them right, since they were the ones who tried to take advantage of others first. Chapter 207 Grudge. Yang Liang and his wife became so annoyed that they slapped the door shut. "I am so annoyed, so annoyed. The Xiao family are behaving over the top. I am definitely going to take revenge." Miss Tian was so irritated that she kept crying loudly. Some nosy villagers understood that Miss Tian would hold a grudge over the matter. So they leaned against the door of Yang Liang's home and listened. Miss Tian, who was irritated beyond measure, kept cursing. After a while, the listeners rolled their eyes, snapped disdainfully and shared the gossip with the fellow villagers. It was a bustling scene at the first section of the Xiao family at this moment. They were not affected by the Yang family at all. Miss Fong was a very cautious, economic person. She added some money so that the wedding looked really good. The melon seeds, peanuts and tea were constantly served. The dried fruits were a little expensive, but Miss Fong did not want the dried fruits to stand out, so she refilled the box every third hour. 4 kinds of dried fruits were bought, namely preserved apricots, candied dates, hawthorn cake, green and red fruit slices. All of them were so popular that they were eaten up the moment they were served. Qiao Xian followed Miss Fong to greet relatives and friends. Everyone knew about her identity, and many had attended her wedding. But she was a prestigious presence in front of the villagers, who could not help but glance at her again and again. She was very friendly and no one could find a fault in her. Instead, they found her different from many ladies in the village. They whispered to each other, saying that she was polite, friendly and behaved well, and also that she looked so pretty and had a special air around her. In the end, they could not help but conclude that the daughter of Officer Qiao was indeed outstanding. There was even a sense of faint jealousy. The first section of the Xiao family was really lucky and was definitely going to get richer. Xiao Yunduan was already the cultivated talent. Moreover, he was the son-in-law of Officer Qiao, so his future was definitely going to be promising with such a father-in-law behind his back. The guests who heard those words felt sour and emotional. They were all friends and relatives and kept giving compliments to the Xiao family on this happy day. Only Ms. Ma felt aggrieved inside her heart. Xiao Yunduan was just lucky, that was all. Soon her son was going to be more skilled and knowledgeable than Xiao Yunduan. It was just that he got sick during the examination, so that Xiao Yunduan took his place. But for Xiao Yunduan's success of becoming cultivated talent and saving Officer Qiao's daughter, he would not have gotten a wife like this. If her own son became the cultivated talent, then Xiao Yunduan would be nothing. So even if Xiao Yunduan saved Qiao Xian, Officer Qiao would not have married his daughter to him. She even imagined the scene of accepting her for the sake of Officer Qiao, and she would have taught her to behave well. If only such a thing had happened. If they could get related to the Qiao family, her son would definitely get promoted and she would be in full charge of Qiao Xian's generous dowry. Moreover, she would even be invited as a guest at the county magistrate's home during all kinds of festivals, and maybe would have shared a meal with her daughter-in-law's family. She would have gotten to know many noble families, who would always come handy as useful connections for them in the future. Chapter 208 Out of dream. In this way, her own family would have flourished as well. Ms. Ma found her dream getting more and more realistic. The more realistic it seemed, the more annoyed she felt about the truth she had to face, when she realized where she was at the moment. Seeing that Miss Fong was not within sight, Ms. Ma suddenly thought of an idea. Ms. Ma went to those relatives and friends who did not seem to get on well with Miss Fong, and started to reveal some secrets about Miss Fong. She did not dare to say anything about Qiao Xian, since she was in a high position. No one from the village had any idea of how Qiao Xian was actually treated at home. But she dared to say something about Miss Fong. She just favors this daughter-in-law of hers. Look at Miss Su, who has to work so hard from early morning. She has to do laundry, sweeping the floor, chopping, carrying water, starting a fire, and cooking. After she makes breakfast, she has to go into the fields for heavy labor. She is so busy every single day. But look at Miss Qiao, she needs to do nothing. It is only because Miss Qiao has money. She is definitely going to take hold of the dowry of Miss Qiao. This Miss Qiao is so stupid as to still defend her and respect her as if she were her own mother. You know how much they offered to Sanlang for him to get the wife? 20 liang. Since when did they get so generous? They have just hosted Wang's wedding and now they are able to give 20 liang to the Yang family. Everyone knows where the money is coming from. But they don't want to loan any money to us, even though they are living a luxurious life. They are so hard-hearted. Just wait and see, when Sanling's wife moves in, the new daughter-in-law will definitely be very unhappy about her mother-in-law's blatant preference towards Miss Qiao. Dalong is very honest and doesn't dare to utter a word when his wife is bullied, but Sanlang is different. Those aunts' biggest pastime was to gossip about the family relationships of different families. They were most fascinated by how those family disputes were conducted. Since they felt a bit jealous about the first section of the Xiao family, and did not like Miss Fang much, they were all excited to hear what Ms. Ma told them. So the whole group got together and gossiped vigorously with their eyes sparkling. But Xiao Xian caught every word spoken even though she was standing far away. Disgusted, Xiao Xian told herself inwardly that this third aunt-in-law of hers had again lost her control of her tongue, despite being disciplined by her mother-in-law just a while ago. Did she think that her words would separate her and her mother-in-law, or that her elder brother and her elder sister-in-law would be dissatisfied with her? Did she think that she could break down her family? Well, she was dreaming. Elder brother was an obedient and honest person, and she could easily buy elder sister-in-law. Third brother was a broad-minded person and she had met his wife, Yang Xiaoni, who seemed to be generous as well. Her family would get increasingly better, and she did not think that anything bad would happen. Third aunt-in-law. Xiao Xian smiled and stepped forward. What are you talking about? I am interested in listening to it too. What are you doing here? Ms. Ma got startled seeing Xiao Xian coming over all of a sudden. People who gossiped behind people's backs always felt guilty. Xiao Xian blinked and smiled. I seem to hear that you are talking about me and Mom. So, I also want to hear your story in detail. Chapter 209. One meal or two. Mom also likes listening to your talks, third aunt-in-law. What about getting her here to listen to your story too? Ms. Ma had no idea how much Xiao Xian had heard and her face changed. But she did not admit that she had talked badly about them, so she forced a smile. Your mom is busy today, there is no need to fetch her here. It is fine. Xiao Xian smiled. Mom can arrange everything well, neatly and properly. My elder sister-in-law is capable too, and she helps our mother relieve a lot of burden. Mom is not at all busy. The relatives were very afraid of Ms. Fang, but they did not seem to be scared about the young Xiao Xian. Someone said half-jokingly, it seems that your elder sister-in-law is very tired with a lot of work. Why not help her? Wouldn't she protest against you for not being able to help her? Everyone laughed. True, wouldn't she feel annoyed? Xiao Xian smiled. Elder sister-in-law is very capable, of course she won't say any such thing. I have just bought dozens of mu of land and planted many things. But I don't have any knowledge about how to plant those things, so I hired elder brother, elder sister-in-law, and third brother to help me, paying them 30 yen a day. We will be planting some more mushrooms soon, and they will have to help me again. What? 31? That is too much. The relatives' eyes widened. They suddenly realized why Miss Su had no opinion against Xiao Xian's behavior. The couple could earn 60 yen a day, which even though did not come every single day, but Xiao Xian's land needed to be taken care of on a regular basis, and every time she required help, she paid them. Moreover, they were not living separately yet, so what she harvested from the land would also be shared. Oh man, she was so rich. With so much money coming to them, they would definitely ignore small things like dishwashing or floor sweeping. All the relatives became so jealous and motivated that they started to treat Xiao Xian nicely. Xiao Xian smiled as she talked about how excellent Ms. Fang and Ms. Su were. Ms. Ma's face turned pale while she stood next to them. Xiao Xian sneered inwardly. But for third brother's wedding that took place today, she was definitely going to pass on this message to her mother-in-law, who would again teach Ms. Ma a lesson. She needed to be disciplined many times until she finally understood what she ought to do and what not. She would eventually understand, after she was taught the lesson enough times. Soon the reception team arrived and the atmosphere became lively. They cheered, laughed and played around. It was a cheerful scene. The couple went through the process and the kitchen got busy again. The scent that came from the dishes caused people to drool. Everyone got very excited and looked forward to the wild boar meat at the banquet. There were 8 dishes being served at the wedding banquet. Normally, only 2 meat dishes were served due to the poverty. But today the dishes were more than good. The dishes included roasted chicken with mushrooms, stewed meat with dried beans, fried wild boar with green pepper and garlic sprouts, roasted tofu, yam fungus, fried bean and eggplant with minced meat, tofu and cabbage soup, which was boiled with wild boar bones and trotters for a long time, so a large pot of broth was produced. There was a bowl of 8 treasure rice too. Xian had thought about serving a dish of braised fish, but Miss Fang did not think that the chief cook would be able to do the dish. Moreover, the dish required too much oil and a bone might get stuck in some child's throat, making it troublesome. Therefore they gave up the idea. Chapter published at 4th of April 2023 6:28 and 34 seconds AM. Chapter 210. 210 Greedy Xiao Yunduan. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. 210 Greedy Xiao Yunduan. Xian complimented Miss Fang for being considerate and dropped the idea of making the dish. When the banquet was served, everyone gobbled down the dishes and emptied everything. Xian realized that Miss Fang had been totally right. The villagers barely had a chance to eat meat, and those with some money would at most eat meat once or twice a month, never over 3 times. So when the banquet was served in the village, they never stopped themselves from eating as much as they could. When the meat dishes were served, the guests went up and kept putting the dishes into their bowls and started to relish them slowly. Some did not even want to finish them totally but took some home. The wedding was held really successfully. The 3 bowls of meat dishes contained plenty of meat and only a small amount of side vegetable dishes. Meat was seen in other dishes too, apart from tofu and yam dishes. The guests were really satisfied by the food and the bowls were all emptied, leaving nothing behind, not even the soup. When the last batch of guests was seen off, the things borrowed for the wedding were returned. The whole family ate along with the helpers who left after dinner. The day did not come to an end until they tidied up everything. It was already quite late. Xian did not do much labor work, but she felt quite tired, let alone Miss Fang and Miss Qiao. After she washed herself up, she felt relaxed and started to yawn. She felt so sleepy. I'm so sleepy. I need to go to bed now, she yawned widely. With her eyes half opened, she greeted Xiao Yunduan and pulled the blanket over her, before falling asleep immediately. Standing by the bedside, Xiao Yunduan looked at her face and felt a bit dizzy in his head. It was like a dream. It had been just 2 months since his own wedding was held, and at that time he was not feeling so relaxed, nor was she. Moreover, he remembered how the suicide took place on their wedding night. But he had not expected that he and she lived such a good life since that point. He had also not expected that her arrival brought tremendous changes to the family. It was just 2 months, but for him it seemed like a lifetime. It felt that he was used to having her at home and in his room, next to him when he laid down. Xiao Yunduan suddenly felt a bit greedy as the emotions hit him hard. He believed that if they could live on like this, life would not be that bad either. Early the next morning, Xianxia served the tea to the family and addressed each member of the family with a new title. From that moment on, the whole family accepted her formally. Xianxia was very diligent and did not need to be told to do the work properly. Miss Fang smiled brightly. She would have definitely thrown a fit if she paid so much and was still humiliated by a daughter-in-law who was lazy and greedy. She was the mother-in-law and she could discipline any daughter-in-law who annoyed her. At this time, the taro, corn, soybeans, peanuts in the fields needed to be weeded, and the bamboo forests needed to be taken care of a little, so Xiao Dalong and Miss Su went into the field for work. Yang Xiaoni was used to doing labor work, so even if she had just gotten married, she was not used to idling around at home. She fetched Xiao Sanlang and took him to the field for work as well. Chapter 211 Two dumb people. Miss Fang said, "It is fine, take a break at home for now and start work in a couple of days." She was not a strict mother-in-law who kept tormenting her daughter-in-law. She had just gotten married and Miss Fang did not need her at the moment. Miss Su feared that with Yang Xiaoni being at home, Xiao Xian would not ask her to join them for work. So she said with a smile, "Mom, what about asking third brother and third sister-in-law to do work in the field along with us, so we can finish our work soon enough to go work for fifth sister-in-law? She has a lot for us to deal with." Miss Fang was startled. Oh well, Xiao Xian did have a lot of work which needed to be done. She had told Miss Fang everything, but not everyone present was aware about it. Xiao Xian did not want other villagers to know about this money-earning thing, so she always hired her own family members to do the work, which Miss Fang approved of. Xiao Xian did not expect that Miss Su would say something like this. She smiled. Mom, elder sister-in-law, I am fine. We don't have to hurry up. She was not in a frenzy because the business with lipsticks was a long-term thing, and she had just made the amount that was needed. Mushroom planting could also wait for now because she needed to find some more kinds of mushrooms in the mountains. Mushrooms and wooden ears were easy to find because she had the superpower, which could help her see every tiny thing in that broad, wide place. But snow fungus was rarely seen and needed to be searched with some effort. Moreover, sometimes luck was required as well. As long as she found the seed, she could simply urge them to grow by the virtue of her superpower. Xiao Sanling's eyes sparkled and he smiled. Mom, elder sister-in-law is right. Let's get our work done as soon as possible. Xiaomi is not that weak. Then he turned to Yang Xiaoni and whispered. Fifth sister-in-law is very generous. She pays each worker 30 a day. We can save money to buy something good in the town. Yang Xiaoni's eyes sparkled too. Really? That's great. These two dumb people thought that they were whispering, but Miss Qiao and Miss Fang caught their conversation clearly. Qiao Xian laughed but pretended not to have heard anything. Miss Fang ignored them furiously and glared at Xiao Sanlang. Okay, just do whatever you want. She was not going to force her daughter-in-law to take a break and not to work. Xiao Sanlang nodded and he left for work with his wife cheerfully. Qiao Xian smiled. Mom, just let Lu Yan do the work. You should take a break too. You have worked too hard these days. Miss Fang stopped being annoyed and smiled. Okay, you are so considerate. Just go and take the break. I owe you big for your third brother's wedding. Qiao Xian felt warm in heart and smiled. Mom, we are a family, don't mention it. Let me make lunch and dinner. I will create something delicious. Miss Fang sneered. No need. You can make it tomorrow. Just let Miss Su and Ms. Yang cook tonight. Your second uncle and third uncle's families will be here for dinner, and they don't deserve to eat your food. She did not want them to start visiting them often for dinner, after they tasted her dishes. Miss Fang had already planned what dishes to serve tonight. Qiao Xian nodded in understanding. True, as long as the two families were far away from them. Chapter 212 Rest. Hence, she could skip making food tonight with ease. Feeling tired, Qiao Xian returned to her own room. Xiao Yunduan was writing articles, which were going to be presented to the teachers at the school and fellow classmates for communication. Qiao Xian did not hurry onto the bed when she walked in. Instead, she came to his side and helped him grind the ink. She was just thinking how she could tell him that she needed to take a break, when Xiao Yunduan looked up at her and said, You worked so hard yesterday, you must be feeling very tired, go and take a break. Qiao Xian had not expected this sentence to come so easily, so she felt very happy. But she replied in a friendly way. That is not good. Xiao Yunduan thought that she was worried about being scolded by the family, so he said, Don't worry, I will not tell Mom about this, just go and sleep. Qiao Xian. What straightforward words. Well, it made people feel assured. Qiao Xian laughed and accepted the offer. Yes, I am feeling very tired. Let me take a break, you can inform me when you step out. Xiao Yunduan nodded. I will tell you when it is time for lunch. Feeling assured, Qiao Xian thanked her husband and threw herself onto bed. She rolled over in the blanket, relaxed with 4 limbs open and soon fell asleep. Her breath was steady and she had fallen into deep sleep. Xiao Yunduan turned around subconsciously and saw the long, smooth raven hair on the pillow. He could not help but feel his heart soften. He showed a gentle look. He felt comfortable and happy, especially when they spent the time together in the room, even while doing nothing. Miss Fang hid the leftovers from the banquet before someone could steal it. 1 bowl of chicken, 1 bowl of tofu and 1 slice of meat were enough for dinner tonight. They had made steamed buns for lunch. The steamed buns were simple but very tasty, and when eaten with the chili sauce made by Qiao Xian with pig liver, heart and belly, it would be delicious when eaten with porridge. When Miss Su returned at lunchtime, they started to eat and Yang Xiaoni felt moved to be able to eat so much food. Yang Xiaoni was bowled over by what Qiao Xian had made. She said that she could do any kind of work as long as she could eat the chili sauce made by the 5th sister-in-law. The whole family laughed. Xiao Taotao smiled proudly. 3rd sister-in-law, 5th sister-in-law makes great food. You wait and see the dishes she makes. Qiao Xian smiled. I will take a break tonight but will make some more tomorrow. Xiao Sanlang, Xiao Xiaoqi and Xiao Taotao cheered her on. Eldest uncle could not help but look up. We are hosting a family dinner tonight, Miss Qiao. You can make some dishes then. Eldest uncle had to admit that Qiao Xian cooked great food, though he was not very satisfied with her. She could make some good dishes for the family dinner to bring up the reputation. In this way, the 2nd section of the family and 3rd section of the family could have a taste of what she was capable of. Miss Fang rolled her eyes and said coldly, Miss Qiao has been working very hard these days and she is too tired to do any more work. She is taking a break tonight. Chapter 213 Good Xiao Yunduan added immediately. True. Dad, she can make food in the future. I am sure that second aunt as well as third aunt would very much like to taste food made by the third sister-in-law. It was a custom that new brides made a table of dishes for the seniors in the family. Xianxia got nervous suddenly. Dad, Mom, I will definitely try my best. She was not very good at cooking but she could make palatable food. Miss Fong smiled. Don't worry, just do as you did back home. Eldest uncle was stuck in words too. It was true that his new daughter-in-law should make food for tonight, and he had nothing against that. Miss Su and Yang Xiaoni returned home from the field very early because they had to prepare for dinner. Miss Fong told Yang Xiaoni and Miss Su what they should do, so they followed the instructions. Yang Xiaoni was used to bitter days, so when she saw how Miss Su filtered the rice, she felt very satisfied seeing a pot full of rice. She asked her voluntarily, "Do we make rice in this way? Don't we add any kidney beans or mung beans?" Yang Xiaoni drooled, seeing pure rice in the pot. Back at home she barely got to eat any rice. Either she ate porridge or rice with beans. Miss Su sounded proud as she grinned. No need, we don't lack rice or flour and we eat such rice every single day. Soon you will know why. Really? Yang Xiaoni's eyes widened. She could not believe what she had heard. Miss Su laughed. Of course. Fifth sister-in-law knows how to make money, and she will help us make a lot of money too. Soon you will know. The fifth sister-in-law was not very good at doing heavy labor, and when their fifth brother became an officer in the future, she would never go down into the field again. She had dozens of fields for lipsticks, herbs and mushrooms and she would need laborers. So Miss Su was well aware that they would have a lot of money to earn soon. Every time fifth sister-in-law made money, she gave some for the shared savings as well. So they did not lack money at home. They had plenty of rice, flour and meat which they ate often. It seemed that they had taken advantage of fifth sister-in-law and the shared savings. Miss Su did not want to share too many details with Yang Xiaoni yet. She had her own ideas and was not as easygoing as Tao Tao. As of now, she definitely trusted the fifth sister-in-law more than Yang Xiaoni. If she told Yang Xiaoni everything, she would have no advantage at all. As far as she could tell, Yang Xiaoni as an honest person, who was easily satisfied by food, just like their third brother. That was wonderful. The meat dishes for dinner included a bowl of chicken, pork tofu and one slice of wild boar. Some mushrooms, bamboos, pickles, eggplants and green peppers were added as the vegetable dishes. That would be enough. Miss Fong did not kill any chicken. She just added one dish of scallions with fried egg, and a bowl of wolfberry sprout soup with eggs. When Yang Xiaoni and Miss Su were busy cooking in the kitchen, the second and third section of the family arrived. Yang Xiaoni's family were horrible, and the second and third sections of the family were laughing at Miss Fong behind her back, thinking that she had indulged Xiao Sanlang too much, because of which such a horrible marriage had been established. Yang Xiaoni had seduced Xiao Sanlang because she thought she was pretty. For her, marrying Xiao Sanlang was a fortunate thing. But Miss Fong approved of the marriage despite her family background. Chapter 214 Message. They were waiting to see what life was going to be like for the first section of the family henceforth. Therefore both sections of the family seemed to be in a good mood. They were waiting to see a ridiculous show, rather than feel jealous and annoyed. Ever since Ms. Ma was caught red-handed by Qiao Xian when she bad-mouthed them at the wedding, she was very worried that Qiao Xian would point this out to her in front of Ms. Fong, and be disciplined by her. Therefore Ms. Ma did not dare to say anything. Since Ms. Niu was alone, she could not hold a conversation on her own. So the dinner went on peacefully and no big fuss was made. The following day Miss Su and Yang Xiaoni went into the field for work. After breakfast, Qiao Xian took a walk in the yard and checked out the melons, fruits and herbs which she had planted. The seeds of tomatoes could be put down too. She softened the earth and spread down the seeds, poured some superpower of hers into the field so that the sprout could start to grow on the empty, broad land. The seeds were ripe and they should grow well. Qiao Xian let out a sigh of relief and cheered inwardly. She did not dare to make them grow too fast, so she stopped her superpower as the sprout reached a height of a finger. The door of the yard was often locked, and that was why she dared to use her superpower at this time. When she walked out of the yard, it was time to make lunch. Qiao Xian and Xiao Taotao helped Miss Fong in making porridge, steamed rolls. They were going to eat them with the chili sauce. Xiao Taotao also put some mushrooms into water, washed some garlic sprouts and beans, so that Miss Su and the others could fry them when they returned home if they felt like having another. Qiao Xian, Xiao Taotao and Xiao Xiaoqi finished the food first before going into the floral field to continue with lipstick making. They needed to take advantage of the blooming fresh flowers, otherwise it would be a total waste. This was all money. May had just passed, and the ordinary roses could grow for no longer than 10 more days. Xianxia could extend the lifespan, but that was too risky for her. Her actions might cause suspicion. Fortunately, the pomegranate flowers were preparing to bloom soon, and there were several colors of roses that bloomed all year round, so there was no need to worry about raw materials. In the afternoon, Xianxia let Xiao Taotao make the lipstick right from the beginning to the end, hoping that she could make a complete lipstick alone. Nervous and excited, Xiao Taotao was shivering throughout the whole process. Fifth sister-in-law had passed on her special skill to her, and she was very excited by that. It was a skill that could guarantee her survival for a lifetime. Fifth sister-in-law must know that when she was able to master the skill, she could earn money on her own, but she still did not keep the skill as a secret. After 3 attempts, and under Xiaoxian's instructions, Xiao Taotao finally managed to make 1 lipstick. The girl was so happy that she blushed, expressing her gratitude to Xiaoxian. Fifth sister-in-law, don't worry, I promise never to make money with this separately. Also, I will never pass this secret on to anyone else. Xiaoxian grinned. You can work as my assistant today, but we will see what happens in the future. It is a large business and you can be part of it. Xiao Taotao smiled and made up her mind. Chapter 215. Displeased Xiao Taotao had just learned the skill and felt very motivated, so Xiaoxian entrusted the work to her whilst she idled around in the floral field. The roses were blooming in such a flourishing way that the petals looked radiant. Due to the help of her superpower, the flowers looked rather beautiful. The pink and rose-colored flowers were pure-looking, and together, it seemed as if a waterfall of flowers was created. It was a much larger amount compared to the other kind of roses, because when the blooming period passed, the amount would be reduced drastically. Motivated, Xiaoxian tried to move the flowers into her space. If her space could preserve them, then everything would become so much easier. She could find some time when no one was around so as to urge them to bloom with her superpower, and all those flowers could remain stored in space. But the arrogant space gave no response. It did not accept the flowers. Xiaoxian found it such a pity. When her mind and space were related, she could more or less sense several issues related to space, not necessarily in a specific way but always in the right direction. The space did have the function of saving objects, except that the function had not yet been activated. She could sense that the function must be related to the cabin that emerged every now and then in the mist. Maybe by the time she caught a clear sight of the cabin, she would reach a high degree of magic and initiate the function of storage. It seemed that everything including upgradation was related to the precious plants inside the space. She still needed to find some more. But she was running out of a solution. She needed to find precious goods which the critical space could accept. Xiaoxian had to give up the idea of storing roses and instead focused on making some more lipsticks when the flowers were still blooming. Xiaoxian was going to make a big dinner in the evening, so she returned home earlier than usual. She was going to make a dish of pig head, which would take time. The pig meat was enough for many dishes. Xiaoxian decided to divide it into different parts. She stewed some in the pot, whilst the ears and some small parts could be served as cold dishes or fried with chilies and braised. From the large water tank, she took out a few 3-finger-wide yellow, small crucian carp, and 2 yellow eels. She stewed a pot of pickled cabbage with a small amount of sauerkraut and dried peppers. This was what dinner was going to include. Miss Su and the others returned home late, and the moment they arrived they washed their hands and got ready for dinner. Xiao Taotao and Lu Yen were helping out at home and the dinner was ready. When Miss Su heard during lunchtime that Xiaoxian had asked Xiao Taotao to work in the floral field, she hoped to finish her own field work as soon as possible, so that she could start to make money from Xiaoxian. The Xiao family were used to Xiaoxian's food and were glad to see the table full of dishes. Is that pig head? It smells so nice. We have fish with pickles again. It was the first time for Yang Xiaoni to have a taste of dishes made by Xiaoxian, so after dinner her eyes were sparkling as she looked at Xiaoxian. Her fifth sister-in-law was so good at cooking, and the pig meat dish as well as the fish were so tasty that she almost lost her tongue while eating. Fish could be so delicious that it was beyond her knowledge. They all had a good time eating and kept speaking highly of Xiaoxian's cooking skills. They all thought that the banquet served at the wedding was not as delicious. Only the eldest uncle felt a bit annoyed. He realized that Xiaoxian refused to cook the previous day only because she did not want to, not because she was too tired to do so. Chapter 216 Ideas. However, if Xiaoxian had been the only person who got this idea, he would have definitely disciplined her. He would have told her that she should not have such thoughts when the whole family was together. However, his wife and sons were all helping her out and he was totally left alone, so there was no chance for him to say anything, nor was there any use in saying anything. Eldest uncle felt really heavy-hearted. He felt that the family was slowly scattering. Miss Fong knew exactly what he was thinking when he was silent. She sneered inwardly and pretended as if she had seen nothing. She had thought that her husband would change himself, but it seemed that moving his heart might not be so easy. He believed firmly that the whole family should be together, and that his two brothers needed to be taken good care of. Hence, she decided not to say anything more. Her words would not be as important as those said by his own brothers. So, she was going to wait to see what his brothers would do to him. Let him also realize what they were really like. Just look at what they had done to him when he helped them with seedlings. He only got to eat one dinner at the third section of the family on his first day, and then he came home for 3 meals in the following days. His brothers never let him stay for meals. What was the need to help them? But it was good that the 2 sections of the family did such a thing. Even an honest man like Dalong wasn't so happy about how they behaved. Otherwise Dalong might have offered help to his father, since he was a very soft-hearted person. Soon it was time for Xiao Sanlang and Yang Xiaoni to visit her natal family after the wedding. Although they disliked Yang Liang and Miss Tian, and refused to hang out with the couple, yet Miss Fong would not cut down the return day gifts and ceremony. Miss Fong, according to the rules, prepared the return gifts, which included 2 chickens, 2 jars of wine, 1 kg of honey and 2 mid-sized pieces of meat. All this put together was above the intermediate level of gifting. But as Yang Xiaoni and Xiao Sanlang left the village, she pursed her lips. I don't want to return to my home. Those are such precious gifts and I don't want to give them to my brother and his wife. Xiao Sanlang patted his legs and laughed. We have the same idea. I would rather feed the food to the dog. His wife had not had a comfortable life before she married him. She was never fed well and was always beaten and punished. She was forced to do a lot of work. He really did not want to give the couple any presents. Yang Xiaoni thought for a while and grinned. I think we can keep the honey, which must taste very sweet. Can stay for a long time. Good idea. Xiao Sanlang laughed and added in agreement. This rice wine seems nice too. What about keeping it as well? We can taste it every now and then. It won't go bad for quite some time. Good. Yang Xiaoni nodded. And, we can kill 1 chicken and roast it. It will taste great. Speaking of roasting food, Yang Xiaoni often stole some taro, corn and beans from home to roast them in the field. Sometimes she would dig some yams and roast them to feed herself in the wild field. She had even roasted fish, but she could not process it well enough, so she gave up after 1 attempt. That was how she and Xiao Sanlang met in the first place. Chapter 217. Not her home. There was one time when she was roasting yams in the wild field when Xiao Sanlang followed the scent. After a few exchanges, the 2 of them got to know each other and developed feelings. Xiao Sanlang could not help but feel motivated after hearing Yang Xiaoni's opinions. He knew pretty well that roasted chicken could be tasty. That is good, but we don't have any salt with us. The taste would be hampered greatly without seasoning. Yang Xiaoni agreed. Moreover, it was never easy to deal with a chicken which was alive. They could hide meat, but living chickens could not be hidden anyway. They would make noise. What if they were heard and stolen away? But Yang Xiaoni felt really unhappy at the thought that she had to give the meat to Yang Liang and Miss Tian. She moved out of the Yang family without getting anything and even cut off her relationship with her brother and his wife. She never owed them anything. In fact, she got nothing after working for them for so many years. Rather, they got 20 liang as wedding gifts since she got married. That was already a big bonus for them. She really did not want to get involved with them anymore. Oh yes. Yang Xiaoni cried as she said to Xiao Sanlang. Let's go into the mountains and visit my parents. Her parents were already deceased, and were buried in the Yang family's graveyard. When her parents were alive, they loved her and gave her a lot of food and clothes in winter. When she was sick, her mother took care of her and made her steamed eggs. But everything ceased to exist after her parents passed away. Her brother and sister-in-law were not her family. She did not want to return there. It would be great if they could visit her parents. She would kowtow to them and tell them that she had married into a very nice family so they could be assured. Xiao Sanlang, who did not like Yang Liang and his wife, agreed heartily with what Yang Xiaoni said. This is a good idea. I will kowtow to my in-laws and it is like a return day too. Yes. Yang Xiaoni nodded with force. So the easygoing couple forgot about Yang Liang and Miss Tian and headed towards the Yang family's graveyard. The couple kowtowed in front of Yang Xiaoni's parents' graves, removed the weed and cleaned a little bit of the surroundings. Then they put the chicken and meat in front of the graves, poured wine 3 times, and talked a little before leaving together. They did not avoid running into people so they were seen by passers-by. They even explained why they were here. People were dumbfounded when they heard that. They could not help but gossip about it, and soon some nosy ones narrated the whole thing at Yang Liang's home. They just loved gossip. Yang Liang and Miss Tian were shocked. Then they got really furious. What are they thinking? What do they mean? That is how the Xiao family teaches their son? Yang Xiaoni learned nothing from them. What are they trying to do? Honestly, the couple had been waiting for Xiao Sanlang and Yang Xiaoni to visit them since morning. They expected the couple to bring some gifts. Miss Tian had even prepared a speech to threaten Xiao Sanlang and Yang Xiaoni, so that she could control them in the future. Chapter 218. Embarrassed, she had intended to warn Yang Xiaoni, telling her that even if she was married, she should never forget about her own family. She was going to remind her that a girl without her own home's support would be bullied by her mother-in-law's family until she passed away. However, she made the full plan and believed that she would be able to take control of Yang Xiaoni, but Yang Xiaoni and Xiao Sanlang did not even show up. What kind of family are they, when they do not even know that they should have presents prepared on the return day? Shame on them. Miss Tian was so annoyed, yet the villagers were all laughing at her. Some people even mocked her. Well, your words are not entirely true. They went to their parents' graves to pay tribute. That can be counted as a return day ceremony too, right? Yeah, when Xiaoni's parents were alive, they loved her deeply, and Xiaoni is a good-hearted girl who knows that she should take her husband to visit them. It should be counted as a return day, right? Xiaoni does have some unique ideas, haha. Hearing those words, Miss Tian got angry beyond words. She rushed back to the house and slammed the door shut. Did you hear that? Miss Tian sneered at Yang Liang. That damned girl refuses to be under us, and you were dreaming about continuing to be her brother. Yang Liang felt very embarrassed too. Any married girl should come back to their home on return day, otherwise her natal family would be so embarrassed. Then what should we do? Miss Tian sneered. Of course we should go to the door to demand an explanation. They are bullying us. We should teach them a lesson. Miss Tian was going to cause such a fuss that the damn girl would never have an easy time at her mother-in-law's family. Thinking of how Yang Xiaoni and Xiao Sanlang went to her deceased in-laws' graves with chicken, meat and wine instead of bringing those things home, Miss Tian felt even more irritated. This goddamn girl looked honest on the surface, but she knew that Yang Xiaoni hated her deeply inside her heart. But she had not expected that the girl would have done something like this. In this way she should not be blamed for taking the revenge. Yang Liang hesitated. Is this a good idea? He was a coward and wanted to have a good reputation. He could lecture Yang Xiaoni when they were at home, but he could not demean himself by making a fuss at someone else's door. Miss Tian pointed at his forehead and said, "You coward! They have bullied you to your bones and you don't even dare to stand up for yourself. Are you a man or not?" Lectured by Miss Tian and thinking of what Yang Xiaoni did, causing him to become a joke, Yang Liang suddenly felt really furious. He said through clenched teeth, Okay. I will make sure she suffers." Now you said it right. Miss Tian sneered. Along with her two sons, she and Yang Liang headed to Shouting Village in anger. Xiao Sanlang and Yang Xiaoni had already returned by lunchtime. They hid the 2 living chickens in their own room and put the 2 pieces of meat in the kitchen, saying that those were the presents from home. Miss Fang did not think that it was possible, but seeing that the couple did not even stay for lunch, Miss Fang found that it might have happened. The couple might have tried to steal meat from Yang Liang and his wife's hands, so maybe the couple got annoyed and drove them out before serving them lunch. But it was okay, they could have better food at home. It seemed that it was right for them to have brought back the meat. The couple was so unkind and she would support whatever her son wanted to do. Chapter 219. Not Miss Fang. After lunchtime, Yang Xiaoni and Xiao Sanlang headed into the field to work with Xiao Dalong and Miss Su. They wanted to finish their own labor work during the afternoon, so that they could start to earn money the following day. Naturally, all of them were highly motivated. However, Miss Tian, together with her 2 sons and Yang Liang, rushed in at the moment. Miss Tian had the intention of causing a big fuss, so the moment she walked into the village, she started to shout loudly and attracted numerous villagers' attention. There was not much entertainment in the village, so when such a show was on, everyone quickly gathered around. The fight between 2 women would be a juicy piece of gossip that could last for 2 months at least. Seeing many villagers attracted by her, Miss Tian became increasingly confident and she started to shout loudly. "You don't even do the return day? That behavior is way over the top." "Yes, it sounds unreasonable. Is it true? I don't think the Xiao family would do something like this." "Well, Miss Fang has a bad personality and she definitely takes revenge, yet she always sticks to the rules. Moreover, she treats Miss Su and Miss Qiao equally. But I don't think that Yang Liang and Miss Tian are lying. They can't be lying because something like this cannot be kept as a secret. Well, let's watch and see what happens. Yes, let's see. So, the whole gang rushed to the Xiao family's home with Yang Liang and Miss Tian. Ms. Niu and Ms. Ma were also among the crowd. They were laughing with their eyes sparkling. The two of them were not saying anything, fearing that their words would again reach Miss Fang's ears, which would not be a good thing for them. Miss Fang was not in a good mood these days. She even hit people. Miss Fang was so shocked when Miss Tian came to the door. What do you mean? Not allowing them to return home? Miss Tian, do you think that I am so easily bullied? I prepared chicken, meat and wine for Yang Xiaoni and Xiao Sanlang so that they can go to your home for the ceremony. How dare you accuse me? The villagers nodded in agreement. That was true. Miss Fang would never have allowed such a thing to happen. Miss Tian sneered. How dare you claim this? Xiaoni never came to my home, someone must have told her not to. Instead they went to my in-laws' graves and left straight from there. This behavior is so unreasonable. What? What did she say? Everyone was startled. People had heard about Miss Tian's complaint, but when the matter was explained like this, they were all shocked. It was indeed a special move which they had never seen before. Shocked, Miss Fang shouted furiously into the room and said, Why are you hiding? Get out here and explain. Yang Xiaoni and Xiao Sanlang were both shocked. They had never expected that Yang Liang and Miss Tian would come to the door because of this. Anxious, they subconsciously hid into the room. But the couple had no choice and came out after Miss Fang shouted at them. Seeing Yang Xiaoni, Miss Tian got so furious that she stepped forward to slap her face. You bitch, how dare you, ah! Xiao Sanlang defended Yang Xiaoni and pushed Miss Tian away, glaring at her. What are you doing? You better not touch my wife. Chapter 220 Weirdos, you. Standing there furiously, Miss Tian just could not vent her anger and was frustrated. For one moment she almost felt dizzy. She could not touch this damn girl anymore. That was such a loss she felt that she got even more furious. She regretted badly to have approved of this marriage. She should have cut it off at the beginning. Moved, Yang Xiaoni started to sob and looked at Xiao Sanlang passionately. Third brother, you treat me so nicely. No one treated me so well like you do after my parents passed away. I will definitely treat your parents well too. The villagers found it both funny and pitiful. Standing next to Miss Fang, Qiao Xian tried to hold her laughter. Her third sister-in-law was such a funny person. The Yang village and the Xiaoding village were not very far apart, and the famous families were famous across the villages. For example, weird couples like Yang Liang and his wife who treated their sister badly was a fact known to almost everyone. They should have realized what Miss Tian and Yang Liang were like, when they saw how Miss Tian, without hesitation, went up to slap Yang Xiaoni right on the face. She must be very used to doing this, so people immediately started to look at her differently. They were such a weird couple. Miss Tian regretted a little to have been so impulsive. So, she threw herself to the ground with her two sons. They are bullying us. The whole Xiao family were here, including the brothers and daughter-in-laws, surrounding Yang Liang and his wife as well as the two children. It did seem like a mob bullying the weak. Miss Fang's veins popped on her forehead. She glared at her son and frowned. Miss Tian, stop being a bitch, I won't be fooled by this act. Just stick to the matter. You should never dream about trying to get any sort of justice through this bitchy move. I will not allow you to throw your temper here at my home. Qiao Xian said to Lu Yan with a smile, Go and fetch a chair for Madame Xiao and serve her some tea too. Okay, second Mississippi. Lu Yan politely and quickly went to fetch the chair from the inner room. Qiao Xian helped Miss Fang sit down. Mom, please take a seat. Then Xiao Xian took over the tea and served Miss Fang politely. Mom, drink some tea and make sure your throat is moist. This is going to be a long conversation. Okay. Miss Fang picked up the cup and took a sip, then she grinned happily. She would let this bitch do whatever she wanted for now. She was simply going to watch a show. Miss Fang felt even more happy when she saw the villagers looking at her with jealousy. Miss Tian was dumbfounded. Yang Liang looked even more furious. You are such a bully. Ms. Ma felt itchy, so she said, Eldest sister-in-law, how can you drink tea at a time like this? Why not solve it quickly? Miss Fang threw a cold look at her and said calmly, I can't do anything when she refuses to talk. Miss Tian, are you ready to speak now? Miss Tian got so annoyed that she almost spilled blood. She wished that Miss Fang could start a fight with her, so that she could charge her for medical compensation. Also, if her two children were shocked, they would have asked for compensation for that as well. However, she started to act as the high-status Madame Xiao. She sat down, surrounded by her children, making Miss Tian not daring to go forward. Chapter 221 Not Return. Yang Liang tried to calm himself down. My sister married your family and you need to help her do something on the return day. But you are bullying us by not letting her return. Miss Fong frowned. I saw them off this morning, which was also seen by the neighbors. I did not stop them. Third, Ms. Yang explained it to them. Xiao Sanlang was about to speak when Yang Xiaoni pinched him, and said with pursed lips, Mom, we did return, but I went to my parents' grave to pay tribute. Can't that be counted as a return? Yang Liang got furious. Damn girl, what are you talking about? Yang Xiaoni looked at them. Her eyes were sparkling, but she turned pale. Yang Xiaoni said to Yang Liang, I don't have a home without my parents. You know pretty well how you have treated me during the past years. You asked for 20 liang as the wedding gifts, but I have no dowry. Even my wedding gown was given by my mother-in-law. How can I be grateful to you when you have treated me like this? I can't do the return day ceremony with you. I was ordered to do the seedling work in the field, chopping wood, carrying water, laundry and all kinds of labor work, but I was never fed well. I owe you nothing. Since you are here, I want to let you know that I am not going to have any relationship with you from this moment on. You have sold me for 20 liang already. How I spend my days at my mother-in-law's home has nothing to do with you. You? Yang Liang turned pale. Many people present understood clearly how Yang Xiaoni lived her life before she got married. They sighed and discussed the matter among themselves. Yang Xiaoni had such a terrible life, but for her luck she married Xiao Sanlang. Her future would have been much worse. How shameless Yang Liang and his wife were, and even dared to cause a fuss till date. Still, some people talked from the point of morality. He is your brother. Brother and sister should not hate each other. Moreover, you are married now, how much hatred can there be? Yes, they are still relatives, why be so ruthless? Your brother and sister-in-law have brought you up. You should be kind to them. Just calm down, you are a family and you should be in harmony. Yang Xiaoni screamed in anger. It didn't happen to you, so you will never know what it feels like. Anyone who says so should get relatives like this and experience it personally. Some people became anxious and snapped. What are you talking about? Why are you cursing us? You are so immature. Yang Xiaoni snapped and sneered. You know this is a curse, right? Since you don't want anyone like this in your family, why are you forcing me? Why do I deserve to have such a hard life? Miss Fong said coldly, all you outsiders, stop interfering. We will solve the matter ourselves, you both can also leave now. Miss Tian glared at Yang Xiaoni and felt very unconvinced. Yang Liang was very embarrassed and left with Miss Tian in a hurry. Miss Fong sneered behind them. It doesn't look good to make a fuss like this. The Yang family's reputation is ruined by you. We should all be sensible. Yang Liang staggered for a moment and then hurried away. Chapter 222 Bad luck. Seeing the show was over and Miss Fong was driving people away, the audience left. Ms. Niu and Ms. Ma, who believed that they were part of the family, remained and continued to giggle. They were trying to convince Yang Xiaoni not to throw a tantrum and that she had only one brother whom she should cherish, or she would regret it in future. They both sounded as if they were very concerned about her. Yang Xiaoni was really annoyed, but Ms. Niu and Ms. Ma were seniors of the family and she could not counter them. Ms. Fong got impatient and said, you two stop talking about those scumbags. Honestly, those shameless people who keep taking advantage of their family with the excuse of family relations should never exist. Anyone who has such relatives is just pure unlucky. The faces of Ms. Niu and Ms. Ma sank. These words sounded very piercing. Mom is right. Xiao Sanlang glanced at them and said to Ms. Niu happily, Second aunt, do you think that the couple is nice? They have 2 sons, and if you think that they are nice, you can become in-laws with them and spend the rest of your lives together. Before Xiao Sanlang finished the words, Ms. Niu shouted and was about to hit Xiao Sanlang. What are you talking about? Xiao Sanlang dodged and smiled. Second aunt, you keep speaking highly of them. I'm only trying to come up with some ideas for you. Why are you hitting me rather than thanking me? How ungrateful. Yang Xiaoni laughed. Seeing his wife smirk, Xiao Sanlang teased even more loudly. Ms. Niu got annoyed and said, eldest sister-in-law, look at your third son. He has no rules. Miss Fong glanced at her and replied calmly. He is simply following your words, why is he unruly? You can get close to the couple if you don't think that the couple is annoying. Just stop it. Eldest uncle, who had been hiding in the room, stepped forward and glared at Xiao Sanlang. When Miss Tian and Yang Liang were making a fuss a while ago, eldest uncle got so anxious that he had no idea what to do. So, he just hid himself in the room and pretended as if he was not at home. Ms. Fong also wished that he did not show up, Otherwise her husband might have said something that put her own family in the disadvantageous place. She could handle the couple when her sons and daughter-in-laws were together. Eldest uncle only showed up now. And this was the scene he ran into. Xiao Sanlang sneered. Dad, it is the second aunt who started it. Ms. Niu snapped. Why don't you talk about your third aunt? Why just me alone? Ms. Ma was displeased as she threw a look at her. Second sister-in-law, what are you talking about? Why am I involved in this? Qiao Xian laughed. These two were just great together. Once they started to argue, Miss Fong got impatient. Go to your home and fight with each other. You have no right to talk about our family. Also, if you spread any rumors about today, just wait and see what I will do. Chapter 223 Venting Anger interrupted. Ms. Niu and Ms. Ma could not continue with the previous topic any longer. They mumbled curses among themselves and left. Miss Fong glared at Xiao Sanlang and Yang Xiaoni. You two, a word. Miss Fong did not blame them for what happened today. On the contrary, she even believed that they were not wrong, though what they did was a bit shocking. She agreed with them that it was much better to get rid of the relatives who annoyed them. Therefore she felt a bit happy to see Yang Xiaoni doing this. It was a kind of anger venting. However, these two children were just too bold. They did such a thing in secret and even hid it from her. Good that they were lucky enough to have the whole family at home. Moreover, Miss Tian as well as Yang Liang did not have anyone supporting them, so they were easily controlled and revenge was easily extracted. If it had been someone with some support who caused a big fuss and accused them, then they would have been on the back foot. They needed to be disciplined in case they did the same thing again. After being disciplined by Miss Fong, both Xiao Sanlang and Yang Xiaoni felt distressed. But Miss Fong only taught them a lesson rather than give them a hard time. She did not make Yang Xiaoni suffer because of this. When it was dinner time, Xiao Xian made some good dishes and Yang Xiaomi became cheerful again after eating the food. Miss Fong had been watching the couple, who shared the same personality. Their eyes sparkled as soon as they saw good food and forgot everything else. Miss Fong was speechless. They deserved each other. When the work in the fields was done, Xiao Xian asked Miss Su and Yang Xiaoni as well as some family members to help her out in the floral field. They would be paid 30 yuan a day. Yang Xiaoni was as surprised as Miss Su had been at the beginning. At 30 yuan a day, which included 10 yuan for the shared savings, Miss Fong changed the rules about shared savings. She could save 20 yuan for herself, with which she could travel into the town and buy a lot of good food to eat. She could buy sugar pastry, dried plums, melon seeds, peanuts and meat sliced noodles, etc. She was going to eat everything with her husband. Qiao Xian also gave away one set of lipsticks to Yang Xiaoni. Yang Xiaoni was so thankful and glad to receive the lipsticks that she wanted to give Qiao Xian a tight hug to express her gratitude. Women could never turn down cosmetics. Yang Xiaoni started to put it on, unlike Miss Su who did not use it immediately. She even put on a blusher which Xiao Sanlang bought for her. She was in a good mood after she got married. Her mother-in-law's family was great. She could eat good food and she was becoming prettier than before. She looked so attractive that Xiao Sanlang adored her even more. The couple wanted to stick with each other from morning to the evening and kept smiling at each other and working together too. Miss Su rolled her eyes at their behavior and Xiao Xian felt shy about the scene. She had been overly fed by their sweet and sticky behavior. It was soon the time to plant mushrooms. Xiao Xian asked Xiao Dalong and Xiao Sanlang to chop some trees for the materials. It was not very easy to chop trees and carry them back to the yard. So, Xiao Xian paid them 60 yuan a day for the task. Chapter 224 No more trouble. Actually, labor work only cost 21 in the market, and lunch was not provided. The workers were under strict watch all the time and had no spare moment to slow down. But even if that was the case, there were still many people who would want to work there. Xiao Xian could not be so particular towards her own family. Labor work was very tiring and she needed to make sure that she paid well. Xiao Sanlang and Xiao Dalong were not enough. So Xiao Xian asked Xiao Dalong to ask their cousins for help. Xiao Xian stressed repeatedly this time. If someone asks about this, just say that you are paid 21 a day, understand? 21 was a normal and slightly high price. 61 would draw too much attention from the villagers. Xiao Xian wanted to keep a low profile. She just did not want to be the center of the attention in case she exposed herself easily. She did not want Xiao Wei to do anything crazy to her again. Xiao Dalong nodded and turned to look for his cousins. Xiao Dali and his brother were so glad that they nodded immediately, swearing not to spread the truth. 61 a day. They had never been paid so much. They could buy more than 5 kilograms of lower quality rice with just 1 day's payment. Moreover, the Xiao family offered lunch as well. Qiao Xian, together with Xiao Taotao, Xiao Xiaoqi, Miss Su and Yang Xiaoni, was working on the lipsticks in the floral field. They would look to find the fungus when they had the materials ready. Xianxia felt that her superpower had been expanded to another hundreds of meters, and it was not very difficult to find what she needed in the mountains. There were definitely shiitakes and wooden ears, but snow fungus should be easily found as well. Xiao asked Xiao Yunduan to buy some meat for home as well as some ducks and chicken. It was summertime and the meat could not be preserved for too long. They could keep the chicken and ducks alive until they felt like using them for food. They had more than 30 chickens with different sizes, but they were used to lay eggs, and the ducks had not grown big enough yet. They almost ran out of the fish in the jar, and in the afternoon Xiao Xian, Xiao Taotao and Xiao Dali went to catch the fish and shrimps in the river, taking a break from their heavy work. But she paid them the salary anyway. Feeling bored, Yang Xiaoni followed them to the riverside as well. Xiao Xian thought for a while and asked Lu Yen to tag along. She could help them carry the bucket or the basket. Lu Yen was already quite tamed, yet Xiao Xian still could not trust her, so she never allowed her to walk in the yard or the floral field. That she was planting fruit trees, medical herbs and making lipsticks in the floral field was a secret to be kept only among the family, and was never mentioned to Lu Yen. Lu Yen also knew that the Xiao family had some secret, or more like Second Miss who had a secret. She would have tried to dig it out in the beginning, but after all this time she did not dare to. She had to pretend as if she knew nothing. Second Miss was in charge of her, and what she needed was to live in peace and spend the remaining days well so as to return to the Qiao mansion safe and sound. She truly did not dare to cause any more trouble. She was wrong, so were Elder Miss, Madame Qiao and Old Master. Second Miss was not timid or cowardly. On the contrary, she was smart, bold and far more tricky than any of them could have expected. To control her, all Second Miss needed to do was to throw her into the second section of the family and make her suffer. Chapter 225 Incomplete awareness about Second Miss. Lu Yen understood clearly what she ought to do, obey Xiao Xian's order. For example, right now, when Xiao Xian ordered her to carry the basket and bucket to the riverside, she should follow it quietly. Was she without help? No, she was just trained to carry a bucket. The group came to the riverside where the water grass was flourishing and the surface was broad. They started to work proficiently. With her superpower, Xiao Xian could see big fish swimming across the grass freely, and she really wanted to help. It was time for her to get a fish net and learn to fish. Xiao Xiaoqi was fishing when Yang Xiaoni offered a hand. She had the basket around her waist and went into the river to scoop up the shrimps. Xiao Taotao and Xiao Xian dug some ponds from under the stone somewhere where the water was not so deep. Lu Yen did not have the intention of going into the water, nor did Xiao Xian ask her to. She was ordered to watch over the things on the bank. She spent so many years inside the mansion, and she would have never learned how to get into water. She might even scare the fish and shrimps away after being slow-handed. Lu Yen was shocked. She knew that the Second Miss had changed. But what she had not expected was that she never knew Second Miss well enough. How did Second Miss learn to do this? Xiao Xian flipped the stone and caught a shrimp at each attempt. Fish and shrimp were different. They were never fast enough to escape the siege. They were slow enough to be caught, even when they ran from one rock to the other. Xiao Taotao and Xiao Xian were excited and soon they had more than 20 and 30 shrimps in the basket. Yang Xiaoni did not spend much effort to scoop the shrimps, which were of different sizes. Some were really small. Sometimes they would find a couple of loaches, some large fish or eels. Crabs were available too, but she tossed them back into the river. Xiao Xiaoqi was watching over the fishing poles. The fish here were never caught, so they were easily hooked. He kept getting the fish from the river one after another. Lu Yen went to help put the fish into the bucket. Seeing the fish in the bucket, Lu Yen could not help but feel happy, thinking that it was a fun activity. After a while they all went home with the harvest. They had a heavy basket of small river prawns and small fish, a large basket of prawns and 2 buckets filled with fish. There were mandarin fish, yellowhead catfish, carp, crucian carp, shrimp loach, catfish as well as 2 blackfish and a grouper. Back at home they put the hopping fish into the jar, and Xiao Xian poured some superpower into the water, because of which the watergrass grew so that the fish started to look energetic. They kept the shrimps in the basin for dinner. Xiao Xian planned to boil the prawns in boiling water, mix it with soy sauce, vinegar, sesame oil, and ginger to dip them in water, peel off the shells of the prawns and eat them directly. That was the best way to eat fresh shrimp. Then they poured the small shrimps and fish into the basin and scooped out the small fish. The small shrimps were baked in the pot, so were the fish, which had very soft and thin bones. They needed to be carefully flipped and baked separately with the shrimps, since they cracked easily. Chapter 226 The whole family. The small fish were very fresh. They were wrapped in flour and deep fried, stirred with chilies and ginger slices. They were the best to eat like this. When Xiao Yunduan returned, he brought pork belly, pork ribs, cheese bones, and a dozen chickens and ducks. Miss Fang put the chickens and ducks into the cage. Since they were not bred by the family, the chicken might run away. But the ducks would always linger nearby. For dinner, they stewed soup with 2 cheese bones, soybeans, and Chinese yam, marinated spare ribs and fried, stir-fried pork loin and loofah, deep-fried pork belly, saving them for the next day. There were wolfberry buds in the floral fields, so some were picked and fried. The bitter gourd on the fence had also grown, and they made another dish of fried bitter gourd with sliced meat. When the dishes were presented at the table, the whole family was drooling just with the smell. Xiao Sanlang could not help but sniff deeply as he said emotionally, "Haven't eaten meat for a long time, now it is here again." Xianxia smiled and her eyes were sparkling. She was greedy for meat as much as he was. Seeing the table full of dishes, eldest uncle opened his mouth and closed again. He thought that Xiao Xian used her own money to buy the vegetables, and he could not possibly tell her to save money, since she was willing to pay. Also, she would not listen to him either. The whole family had become so fascinated with meat, after eating the dishes made by Xiao Xian. They seemed to suffer deeply when they ran out of meat after a few days. The pork from the pigs raised by the farmers were very tasty. Xiao Xian was drooling for the meat too. She had some ribs and drank a bowl of bone soup. The shrimps were so fresh and tasty, and they were all satisfied by what they had just eaten. They were worried that the shrimp would have a weird taste, but after they had a bite, everyone found it so fresh, especially Xiao Junyan and Xiao Qing, who loved it deeply. Xiao Xian started to miss the dish made of tomato with shrimps. Her tomatoes were already growing so tall. She decided to make them bloom in a couple of days. The roses were not growing so much, but pomegranate flowers would bloom too, since the buds were ready. Xiao Xian made a count of the lipsticks. The number had already reached to 1,000. They had booked the tubes so they could slow down at this stage. They were waiting for Yuezhing Xiao to fetch the goods, and the tubes to arrive before starting to work on it again. She used her superpower to make the pomegranate flowers bloom slower than expected. It was summertime and the weeds were growing crazily. Especially when the barren mountains were surrounding the floral field, and the grass seeds were everywhere in the field. They were burnt first, but the weeds just would not go away. So, Xiao Xian hired Miss Su and Yang Xiaoni to help remove the weed, and she paid them accordingly. She decided to let Xiao Xiaoqi and Tao Tao go for a walk in the mountains. Xiao Xiaoqi had not hunted for a long time in the mountains and he felt itchy to go there. Xiao Yunduan decided to take a break too, after studying hard for so long. So the 4 of them went into the mountains together. Xiao Xian had the intention of visiting the place where they had never visited before. Xiao Yunduan as well as the other 2 agreed readily. When Daddy Zhao was still alive, he had once taken Xiao Xiaoqi into deep mountains that were deep. So, Xiao Xiaoqi was used to this kind of environment and he was never afraid. But deep mountains were, after all, dangerous as they went in. It was summertime and the bugs, mosquitoes, snakes and all were quite active. They really needed to watch out for the poisonous ones. Chapter 227. Into the mountains again. When Xiao Xiaoqi spoke of this, Xiao Xian was reminded as well. So, she went into town to buy some medicine first, and was fully prepared before heading to the mountains. The mountain was very far, so the 4 of them started before the sun rose. The air was very cool at that moment. Xiao Xiaoqi was quite energetic. He became more active as he walked into the mountains. He had a lot of fun going along with Xiao Taotao. Xiao Yunduan was walking next to Xiao Xian, reminding her what she should watch out for, like the branches which he kicked away for her sake. Xiao Xian did not need his help. She could see everything, and as long as she wanted to, she could use her superpower to move the veins away. But Xiao Xian felt sweet in heart, seeing her husband care for her in this way. She was not going to give this man to anyone else. The 4 of them did not intend to head into very deep mountains, since they needed to factor in the return time. Seeing the surroundings getting stranger, they slowed down. Xiao Zioki's plan was to hunt and take some animals home. He intended to get some rare prey because roosters and rabbits were too commonplace for him, especially since he took such a long and difficult trip here. They talked and walked as they observed the surroundings. There were many kinds of bamboo in the mountains and the bamboo shoots were seen everywhere too. From the time of the solar term of insect awakening all the way to the end of July, there were a lot of fresh bamboo shoots growing. As they were walking in the deep mountains, they would every now and then run into small patches of bamboo shoots. There were many mushrooms too. Wild berries were looking ripe as well. However, they were too far away from the village, so they dropped the idea of bringing those home. They needed to work on more precious things with the limited energy they had. They only paused to pick the rarely seen and delicious mushrooms like porcini mushrooms, Hericium arenaceus, wild red mushrooms and small flower mushrooms. Especially Hericium arenaceus, which was rarely seen. They were lucky enough to get many on this trip. They even found a bunch of snow fungus which were picked when ripe, weighing around 2 or 5 kilograms. Xiao bore this place in mind. She would come to pick the mushrooms when they had the materials ready. Xiao Yunduan understood that the snow fungus were valuable, but he had never seen them before. When Xiao Xiaoqi and Xiao Taotao heard from Xiao that snow fungus could be more valuable than gastrodia when sun-dried, they put them away carefully, fearing that they would break them. Xiao Taotao's eyes were sparkling as she smiled. "Fifth sister-in-law, are you going to plant this in our yard too? That would be great." Xiao Xiaoqi struck his head and smiled. "Yes, no wonder it sounds so familiar. Let's bear this place in mind and we can come back to fetch the seeds next time." Seeing that they were not greedy but working for her devotedly, Xiao Xian felt warmth inside her heart, nodding and smiling. "Yes. But it is not very easy to find it in the mountains and we need to work on it. We are going to make a lot of money if we manage to plant them well." Xiao Xiaoqi and Xiao Taotao were the biggest helpers when Xiao Xian was starting her business. So, Xiao Xian decided to pay them a salary and give them shares too. When her business became bigger, their share would be so much that they would never need to worry about money for the rest of their lives. Xiao Xiaoqi and Xiao Taotao did not think that far. They were just very happy that their fifth sister-in-law had never been stingy towards them and they did not need to worry about anything. Chapter 228 Deep Mountain. Apart from snow fungus and some precious things from the mountains, Xiao Xian with her superpower, saw some Ganodermic, few of which were too small and difficult to find, or just too far from them. So she gave up mentioning them. They only ran into 2 pieces which were of beautiful colors and in the size of an adult's hand. She did not manage to hide the Ganodermas when she was picking them, so she decided to sun-dry them to stew chicken and ducks as supplementary ingredients. She had plenty of money right now and she did not want to head to the town just to run this errand. In a moist forest with rotten leaves, Xiao Xian picked several orchid trees. She did not recognize the species but she went with her intuition. She believed that they were rare things. So, when no one was watching, she put a couple of pieces into the space, which did not turn her down and accepted them all. These newly arrived orchids were obediently planted on the edge of the other kinds, slowly taking root in the soil. The branches and leaves stretched, and the space was instantly filled with a touch of greenery and vitality. They ate some food in the mountains and walked for 1 more hour before Xiao Yunduan said, "It is getting late, let's head home." It would take them a lot of time to arrive home. Xiao Xiaoqi let out a small cry and scratched his head in distress. "We didn't have much luck today, we haven't seen any big things. Let me at least take some small ones home." Xiao Taotao smiled. "Seventh brother, it would be too scary if we really run into some big things. I think roosters and rabbits are enough. Also, the fifth sister-in-law has found so many snow fungus, which should be better than those big things." The 3 of them laughed, so did Xiao Xiaoqi. "That is true." Xiao Xiaoqi concentrated on looking for other prey. They were deep in the mountains with hardly any people and excellent ecology. As a result, there were many prey to be hunted. Xiao Xian helped along. She led the way and soon Xiao Xiaoqi got 3 roosters and 2 rabbits. They could have run into wild boars and tigers, but Xiao Xian foresaw those animals and guided them away. Soon the 4 of them headed home. They picked some wild bamboo shoots on the way home again. There were normally 2 kinds of wild bamboo shoots available in this season of the year, the sweet and the bitter, both of which were of a small size and turned out to be just slightly bigger than a coin after being peeled. Sweet bamboo shoots did not need to be blanched. They could be cut into thin slices and put directly into the pot. They could be fried or made into soup. It would taste very sweet and fresh with no need to add meat. The original taste of fresh bamboo shoots would be retained in the dish. Bitter bamboo shoots needed to be blanched so the bitterness could be removed. It could be cooked with meat and chilies. When she got home, Xiao Xian placed those white fungus in a dustpan and put them in the garden to expose them to the sun. The 2 Ganoderma lucidum were also dried together. There were a lot of porcini mushrooms, Hericium arenaceus, and red mushrooms that were picked this time. Such mountain goods were too precious, and they needed to be kept and eaten slowly. Xiao Xian also dried some of them. The remaining would be used for chicken stew at dinner. The orchids were planted in the corner of the yard rather than in the pot. Xiao Xian planned to take care of them with her superpower and see if they could grow well. In the evening, Miss Su and Yang Xiaoni came home. There were many weeds growing in the floral field, and the roots were stubborn in the first year. Therefore, cutting weeds became a very difficult job. Miss Su had some plans of her own. She could be calculative, but she never idled around, whilst Yang Xiaoni decided to start fresh, so she worked very hard as well. Chapter 229 show the two of them removed the weeds cleanly and the roots were all dug out. They were sun-dried and then would be buried later on. Miss Su was worried that Xiao Xian would call them lazy, so she explained to her that the reason why the weeds were not thoroughly cleaned was because the job was very difficult to do, and that they were not lazy. Xiao Xian never thought of her in this way, so she did not understand why Miss Su would explain this to her. When she understood what Miss Su intended to tell her, she consoled her instead. That was when Miss Su became assured. During dinner, Xiao Xian cooked again. She planned to use Hericium arenaceus and porcini. The menu included stewed chicken, fried rabbit with spices, braised rabbit pork belly, sweet bamboo shoots with clear soup, as well as some seasonal vegetables. She had not eaten rabbit for a while and she was greedy for it. When it was time to cook, Xiao Xian suddenly saw someone passing by the yard. It was Miss Fong who was playing with her granddaughter. She exchanged a few words with the neighbor who went away soon after. Excited, Miss Fong handed her granddaughter to Miss Su. Something is going on. I will go and check it out. Then she headed away. Yang Xiaoni loved gossip too, so she wanted to follow along, so did Xiao Xian, who asked Xiao Xiaoqi and Xiao Taotao to join them as well. They lived in a very small village and they should care about each other. If something was happening they would definitely go and watch it. Miss Fong was excited as she ran ahead. She looked so obvious that she was looking forward to watching a big show. Xiao Xian understood the whole story. Fifth Grandma Ding and Fifth Grandpa Ding had problems with their in-laws, and they heard that their granddaughter Ding Xiang of the second section of the family was making a big fuss. Hence, they suddenly got very interested. At this moment, Fifth Grandpa Ding was already surrounded by numerous villagers, who were all whispering to each other. A young girl was seated on the ground as she said furiously, "We are all grandchildren, how can we be treated so differently? You favor the other sections of the family so much and you call me immoral? You deserve to be punished." Fifth Grandma Ding got so angry that she leaned backwards, shouting at Ding Xiang. "How dare you accuse me? I am your grandma. I will beat you to death, no need to keep you alive, bitch." Ding Xiang snapped and sneered with her head raised. "I am your grandchild. How noble are you when you call me a bitch? We, from the second section of the family, work all the time and we are never fed well. My mom is too sick to get up right now but you still think that she is lazy. You give food to my cousins but you never give me and my brother anything. How can you be treated as the senior members of the family? You can be a senior member to anyone who wants you. How dare you lecture me? What right do you have?" The villagers all burst into laughter. Some also felt sorry for them. Fifth sister-in-law Ding is too prejudiced. Ding Erju and his wife are just way too obedient. True, every family has its problems. Parents can't always balance the relationship, but they can't be too biased as well. Ding Xiang used to look so obedient and silent, but look at her right now. She has been bullied and can't stand it anymore. Honestly, they could all sit down and talk about this. It is not proper to speak with senior members in this way. Yeah, she has no rules. No one would stand this kind of arguing. Chapter 235 Grandpa Ding's granddaughter Fifth Grandma Ding got so annoyed by what Ding Xiang said that she went up to kick her and shouted, "I will beat you to death, you bitch." Ding Xiang could not stand it. So she got up and ran away. "You are the senior member but you don't act like one. The only thing you can do is to put on the seniority hat. Bah, I can't stand that anymore, I want to separate the family. Bah, I am dying, I am dying." Fifth Grandma Ding shouted. Instead of running after Ding Xiang, she screamed at Ding Xiang's father. "You immoral man, how can you allow your daughter to bully me? Maybe you and your wife have instructed her to do so? What sins have I done so that I have to go through this trouble?" Fifth Grandpa Ding's face changed as he snapped. She has no rules and she dares to say such terrible things. Catch the damn girl. Ding Erju turned pale out of fright and kept apologizing to Fifth Grandma Ding, swearing to God that he and his wife did not order their child to do so and that he would never do anything like this. Ms. Zhou kept sobbing in silence. Ding Xiang's heart cooled. She shouted even more loudly at Fifth Grandma Ding and Fifth Grandpa Ding for being prejudiced, as well as the exaggerating and annoying things the first and the third section of the family did. She insisted vehemently that she wanted to leave the family. The first and the third section of the family who were watching the show got annoyed too. They rushed forward with the cousins and caught Ding Xiang without much effort. Ding Xiang cursed inwardly. "You ruthless family, stingy and evil, you are nothing. My parents will be killed by you one day, just wait and see. If my parents die someday it will be your fault. You black-hearted people, you will be condemned by God." "Shut up now." Fifth Grandpa Ding got so angry that he shivered. "What are you talking about, you damn girl? Can't you talk properly? How dare you curse your own family? You are mental and talking nonsense. Second son, what are you doing being her parents? You should teach her well. Fifth Grandma Ding slapped right on Ding Xiang's face, shouting. This damn girl is crazy. No one with the right brain will talk like this. You are immoral. Ding Xiang's face turned swollen. But she continued. This is all your fault. I am mental because you made me so. I want to live separately, will you agree? Of course not. You will have no servant to order around. No one will help you who are lazy, mean and evil. Ah. Fifth Grandma Ding got so angry that she almost fainted. She raised her hand and was about to slap Ding Xiang again. I will kill you now. Ms. Zhou suddenly rushed forward with her son in her arms. She shielded Ding Xiang as she kneeled down, begging. Mom, she is too young to understand what is going on, please forgive her, please. Shut up. Bitch, you have taught her all of this. How dare you ask for forgiveness? Fifth Grandma Ding kicked Ms. Zhou, who fell backwards. Her son was less than 3 years old, and he was crying loudly as he called out to his mother. With her son in her arms, Ms. Zhou felt so desperate that she cried. Those bystanders did not think that this should go on like this. They went up to get Fifth Grandma Ding, telling her to calm down and help Ms. Zhou and her son get up. Some people tried to tell Ding Xiang not to talk anymore and apologize to her grandparents. Chapter 231 Wrap up the matter. Fifth Grandpa Ding glared at Fifth Grandma Ding too. It was his wife who was too prejudiced, and had been treating the second section of the family badly. The second section of the family were too obedient to say anything, and he never took their attitudes as important. But Ding Xiang, the damn girl, bore the grudge in heart. This damn girl behaved openly like this, and his second son and his wife might have held the same grudge too. They had made the whole family into a joke in front of the village. Fifth Grandpa Ding was very unhappy about Fifth Grandma Ding, and was also upset about the second section of the family. Why could they not point out their grudge privately rather than make a scene here? Did the second section of the family think that it was a good thing to be the joke of the village? Fifth Grandpa Ding decided to wrap up the matter properly. He had to do so. Otherwise the rumor would only get bigger. His grandchildren were getting older every single day, and they should get married when it was time. His family could not be humiliated at this juncture. Just stop it. Fifth Grandpa Ding glanced at Fifth Grandma Ding and his children as he looked at Ding Erju. Erju, just tell everyone if your parents have treated you badly? Frightened, Ding Erju shook his head subconsciously. No, of course not, Fifth Grandpa Ding snorted. Have you ever thought about leaving the family? No, I never think about this. My parents are so good, how can I leave you? You really never thought about this? Never, Dad. Good. I knew that I would never have raised an evil son. Fifth Grandpa Ding calmed himself down and turned to Ding Xiang. Girl, are you jinxed that you have spoken such impolite words? Just say sorry to your grandma and we will drop the matter. After all, you are simply being impulsive at this moment, but we can forget about it. Fifth Grandma Ding glared at Ding Xiang and sneered. Are you confused as to have said something like that? With a swollen face, Ding Xiang looked at Fifth Grandpa Ding with widened eyes. Grandpa, why can't we live separately? We can still treat you well when we live separately. I don't want my parents to live a tired life. Moreover, neither of the uncles ever work well. Why can't we just live separately, why not? Many people in our village live separately. Just shut up. They live separately for some reason, but many are living together. You should get out of our family if you want to live separately. I will see if you can survive. Fifth Grandpa Ding's face sank. Girl, you are definitely jinxed. You are talking nonsense. You were not like this before. How can you speak with me in such an impolite way? You are not being polite towards us. Ding Xiang said, what I want is just to live separately. Fifth Grandma Ding sneered. Why should we listen to you? You are nothing. I am nothing, then you can separate us. You. Shut up. Fifth Grandpa Ding snapped as he said with a sunk face. Girl, if you are jinxed, I will let you stay in the ancestral hall for a couple of days, and the gods will drive away the evil air on you. It was a naked threat. The ancestral hall was damp and dark, where the ancestral tablets were placed. People could feel cold and dank air in that place. It was always dark even in the daytime, let alone deep at night. Chapter 232 Rites of Discourse. It was not easy to stay there for a couple of days. At least for a teenage girl it would be very scary. Ding Xiang looked up and said, I can stay there, but are we living separately afterwards? Fifth Grandpa Ding's face sank utterly after that question. Second son, do you want to live separately? No, of course not. Ding Erju was dumbfounded, wondering what made his girl say so. Fifth Grandpa Ding sneered. It seems that you have not taught her well. Hence the girl is totally jinxed. Ding Erju panicked. Dad, she is just confused. Ms. Zhou was terrified too. Ding Xiang, just stop talking. Apologize to your grandma and your grandpa, we are not going to live separately, okay? Don't talk like this. Ding Xiang glanced at her parents. She looked desperate and distressed. She had no rights of discourse. She could not change a thing. She tried her best to shout out what she was thinking, but everyone called her confused, jinxed. She was denied. She could do nothing when she was under someone else's mercy. She was capable of doing nothing. What a goddamned world. She just could not stand that anymore. No wonder the original host died. She looked around and felt exhausted. Ding Xiang suddenly felt a bit desperate. Anyway, she was not going to tender any apologies because she never made any mistake. That was the bottom line she had. They could do whatever they wanted to her. She could not ride over them. Fifth Grandpa Ding forced her. Girl, just say sorry, we can drop it as long as you apologize. We are a family and we will live happily forever. Ding Xiang sneered. This pretentious tone made her feel so disgusted. What were you pretending to be? You were not at all noble. She was not gullible. She knew that they were just trying to save their face. She was being forced to repent so that their reputation could be saved. She had thought that as long as she could draw the attention of the villagers, she could force the whole family to yield. But she was wrong. Nothing happened so easily. She was alone, and no matter how hard she tried, she could not get out of this mud. Seeing Ding Xiang staying silent, Fifth Grandpa Ding got angry and said coldly, "You are definitely jinxed, so you talk nonsense. Elder, second and third son, just take her to the ancestral hall so she can reflect herself in front of the ancestors." "No, please, Dad. Ding Xiang, just apologize now." "Dad, she is confused, I can discipline her later, but please, forgive her." Ding Erju and Ms. Zhou turned pale as they begged for forgiveness. Ms. Zhou cried so hard that she almost collapsed, but for her sister-in-laws who supported her. The ancestral hall was very scary, but a maiden who was 15 years old, who could have a good marriage, would have her name ruined if she was ordered to stay in the ancestral hall. They would never find any good suitors for her. What was she going to do? Her life was ruined. Ding Xiang closed her eyes. She is jinxed, definitely yes. No normal girls would be like this. Fifth Grandpa Ding almost cried. What are you standing here for? Get her to the ancestral hall. What a shameless thing, our family is doomed. Chapter 233 Qiao Xian's vision. No matter how much Ms. Zhou cried, Ding Xiang was still driven to the ancestral hall. The villagers exchanged murmurs among themselves. Some were talking about Fifth Grandma Ding, some were showing compassion to Ding Erju and Ms. Zhou, and some even believed that Ding Xiang had been really jinxed. True, she must be under influence, how else can a girl behave like this? Yeah, did you see her eyes? They look weird. She is a grandchild and she needs to behave like one. How could she talk to her grandparents like this? She is jinxed and she is confused. I wonder if she will get better soon. Not sure. After the show, they all went back to their own homes. Miss Fong felt a bit interested and sneered. That old woman is such an evil person. How could she force her own son and granddaughter to be like this? She will have to pay for her actions. Miss Fong was gossiping when she saw Qiao Xian, who seemed to be totally transfixed. She tugged at her arm and said, "Let's go home, you got frightened?" Miss Fong showed her concern. She was thinking that Qiao Xian grew up in the mansion instead of a village and she might have gotten scared after she saw what happened. Qiao Xian brought herself back and smiled. "I'm fine, Mom. I just didn't expect such a thing to happen." "No one did." Miss Fong sighed. "That grandma is too cold-hearted." Miss Fong was complaining to Yang Xiaoni on the way home, but Qiao Xian was thinking about something else. She had gotten dizzy, and just like how she ran into the man whom she and Xiao Yunduan saved last time, she witnessed numerous images in her head again. Ding Xiang was in those images. She was going to have a very bright future. Qiao Xian made up her mind to help Ding Xiang out. She would lose nothing if that vision did not come true, but if she was right, then she would have saved an important figure. When she made up her mind, she started to think about how to do it. She decided to do it alone in secret. After all, she had no rights to get involved with other people's family affairs, and if she offered to help Ding Xiang, her family would not approve of it. They might call her evil too. It would be a tough thing to explain. If the rumor arose about her, she would be driven mad. The whole family finished dinner, and Qiao Xian drove Xiao Yunduan back to the room, and then left home with an excuse that she needed to check out the tomato buds. She found out where the ancestral hall was. It was located in the west side of the village. It was big and isolated. That was a good thing. A tree was next to the ancestral hall, and Qiao Xian used her superpower so that the branches bent down for her to climb up. Then the branches took her to the wall and bent down for her to go inside the wall. Xian hopped down and started to walk in within a safe distance. The ancestral hall was a very scary place, and it was even more scary at night. But Xian was feeling very calm. After all, she had time traveled and got superpower with her. What was she afraid of anyway? Xiang was locked in the left wing room of the ancestral hall, and when Xian found her, she was sitting with arms around her knees, looking cold. Chapter 234 Starvation. Both of them froze as their eyes met. Xiang did not expect that someone would be here at night. Xian realized that Xiang was not looking scared. This girl was indeed strong-minded. Xiang glanced at the basket in Xian's hands. She seemed to have smelled something. She swallowed her saliva and her eyes started sparkling. "Have you got any food?" Xiang licked her lips and asked in a hoarse voice. She was really famished. She was never fed at her home, and no one gave her food after she was locked in the ancestral hall. When she heard the sound of footsteps, she thought that it was her mother. But it was not. She felt a bit disappointed, but not that disappointed. Ms. Zhou was too weak to fight against her grandma, who would definitely stop Ms. Zhou from giving her any food. Ms. Zhou could do nothing but cry. She was her mother, but she could not even defend her child who was tormented by her own family. She felt let down as she thought about this. She was so hungry that she did not even bother to ask why this woman was in front of her. All she needed was food. Xian smiled and let out a sigh of relief. She had been thinking how to explain to Xiang when they met, but she turned out to be so straightforward. This was a personality she liked. When she thought of how she fought against fifth Grandpa Ding and the whole family, and she sighed, "What a special girl." She was really different from ordinary farmers. "Oh yes, but drink some water first, I have added some honey in it." Xian nodded and went to her. She squatted and took out the food and water for Xiang. Xiang took the kettle and poured the water into an empty bowl with shivering hands, then she finished it directly, letting out a sigh of relief and saying emotionally, "It is so sweet." She could not wait any longer and started to eat. Xian had expected that she would not have been given any food by the family, so she only got one bowl of rice, one dish of bamboo shoots and several pieces of mushrooms for her to eat. But Xiang did not think too much and she started to eat everything immediately. When the food was done, Xiang wiped her mouth and put down the chopsticks and bowls. She almost cried. How could she have time traveled to this goddamn place? She could not even get to eat one bowl of rice. How happy it was to be able to finally eat. "Oh yes." Xiang pressed down her tears and smiled. "You are the second miss from the Qiao family, right? Why did you give me food? Anyway, thanks." Xian had already understood that she was different, so it was normal that she could guess who she was. She was different from the villagers here. "You are right." Xian smiled and added, "I don't approve of what fifth Grandpa Ding did, so no need to thank me." Xiang grinned. "So you felt sorry for me? Anyway, thanks." Chapter 235 A pure-minded girl. It was a great comfort, if you could have someone who felt sorry for you. Xiang sighed inwardly. She was a lady born in a big family, and yet she had such a simple mind. Fearing that she would not believe her, Xian said in a small voice, "Let me tell you something, but please don't tell anyone else. My lineal mother is not kind either, and I felt really sorry for you when I saw you being treated like that." This lady was so simple-minded. Xiang replied involuntarily. "Lucky that you ran into me, but let me tell you, poor people are never kind. Those farmers are too poor to think about justice and fairness. They are just greedy and private, so never be too kind or feel sorry for others, otherwise you will get yourself in a lot of trouble, alright?" Xian was startled. What was she talking about? Did she think that she was an innocent, pure-minded rich girl? Xian chuckled in her heart. She was not pure-minded. She could be quite ruthless. But she found Xiang getting more and more interesting. Seeing Xian's seemingly surprised look, Xiang explained little by little. "Look at what you did tonight. I'm locked here because I have been punished. You delivered food to me, and if you don't help me do what I ask of you, I may threaten you about telling everyone else about your deeds. As a result, you will land into trouble for saving me here." Xian. "I understand what you mean. But I know you won't. Don't worry, I am not that gullible, and I never show kindness to others easily." Xiang smiled. "How do you know I want?" Xian was speechless. She could not explain it. "Just a feeling. My sixth sense is always right." "What feeling?" "Just an intuition." Anyway, they needed to drop the topic. "You should never be this nosy anymore, got it?" Oh yes." Xian switched to the embarrassing topic. "What are your plans for the future?" "Future?" Xiang sneered. At this juncture, she wasn't even sure whether she would have a future. She had understood clearly that she alone could not fight against a family, especially since she was born in this era. She was called jinxed by her family and was even considered as immoral. Now she was starving in the locked ancestral hall. Maybe she would be forced into marriage and the only thing she could do to fight against that was to die. Qiao Xian thought for a while and tried to persuade her. I believe that if you want to achieve something, you should not lunge at it. You can try to take a roundabout. For example, you embarrassed your grandparents today, that would irritate them more. You will end up being in trouble again and again if you fail to bring them to your side. Qiao Xian was really curious whether this stubborn personality girl would have a flourishing future like she had foreseen. But she had developed some feelings towards this girl and would like to give her a hand. Moreover, when she heard some details about 5th Grandma Ding from Ms. Fong, Qiao Xian believed that Ding Xiang was really unlucky to have been born in a family like that. Chapter 236, where Ding Xiang smiled and nodded. You are right. But what she was thinking inwardly was that this noble lady simply knew nothing. Retreating and playing along? She would very much like to do so, but the problem was that it would not work out for her. Her parents had already been under the charge of her grandma, and neither of them would take her side. She was alone and there was nothing she could do. She had softened her stance before, but that did not work. Her parents had been frightened and they could not change themselves. They were used to being like that and she could not change them at all. Also, her grandma was a very tricky person, and when she sensed that she had instigated her parents to rebel, she would be doomed. There was nothing she could do, except to throw herself out to get them all condemned. But the result was that she lost the game completely. Honestly, the reason why her grandma treated her father like that was because her father was down to earth and the second son, who could accept his mother's bad temper. He was never treated well, but he never complained. That was why he ended up being like this. Obedient people always get bullied. Just go home, don't come back tomorrow? Ding Xiang said to Qiao Xian. Qiao Xian nodded, and gave 4 eggs wrapped in yellow paper as well as a small water bottle as well as a tiny porcelain bottle with honey to Ding Xiang. You can eat them tomorrow. She could not come to this place during the daytime. If she was spotted, she would be in trouble, just as Ding Xiang said. Ding Xiang got startled all of a sudden. She looked deep into Qiao Xian's eyes and said lightly as she took over the things, "Thanks." Qiao Xian waved her hands, smiling. I am leaving now. Okay. The moment Qiao Xian walked out of the door, Ding Xiang called out and stopped her. She raised her hands to sort out the hair on her head, saying to Qiao Xian seriously, if there is any chance in the future, I will repay you definitely. Thanks. This was the only kindness she had received after she came to this world. She would always bear this gesture in her heart. After all, her parents were kneeling down to her grandparents and had decided to leave her alone. How ridiculous. If they really loved her as their daughter, they would have done whatever they could to fight against her grandparents. At that time, her grandparents would not be able to do anything, they could not possibly kill them, right? The fundamental point was that she was not that important in their hearts. Qiao Xian nodded with a smile, after she was taken aback for a moment. Okay, I will bear this in mind. Ah. Qiao Xian was very happy. This was exactly what she had come for. It was great that Ding Xiang had the same idea. Ding Xiang smiled and could not help but get emotional. The second miss of the Qiao family was indeed so pure in mind. Qiao Xian answered too straightforwardly to let Ding Xiang feel that she was just teasing her, rather than take her words seriously. But Ding Xiang was not joking. Qiao Xian left the ancestral hall in the same way as she came in. She needed to head home fast. She felt glad inside her heart and felt that she had fulfilled her mission. But the moment she walked into the room, she ran into Xiao Yunduan, who asked her, "Where have you been?" "Oh well." Qiao Xian normally returned to the room with Xiao Yunduan, but it was very late for her to show up. So Xiao Yunduan asked her curiously. She thought for a while. I just suddenly thought of the medical herbs in the yard. I just went to check them. After all, I hadn't seen them in a while. Chapter 237. Blank in mind, is that really the case? Xiao Yunduan looked at the clothes around her waist. Qiao Xian looked down subconsciously and saw that her clothes had some strings stuck on them. She would not have such a thing attached to her, if she had been in the yard for medical herbs. Qiao Xian snapped at herself inwardly. Her husband must have become suspicious. She should have found a better excuse. She could have used this excuse to get herself out of the suspicion of the others in the family, but her husband was smart enough not to believe her words. Oh well. Qiao Xian smiled and confessed as she came to Xiao Yunduan. Well, don't get mad if I tell you. I visited Ding Xiang at the ancestral hall and I brought her some food. What? Hush. Xiao Xian covered Xiao Yunduan's lips. Keep your voice down. As the gentle and soft hand covered his mouth, he could feel softness spreading across his body, so he was dumbfounded, not daring to move. He was about to talk when he realized that his lips would rub across her hand. He stiffened even more and did not dare to move at all. His ears were totally red and he got so nervous that he started to breathe heavily. Xiao Xian was so anxious that she did not realize what she had done. She blinked as she turned to him, looking pitiful. I can explain it to you. The two of them were standing very close to each other and she looked so beautiful. She seemed to have a stimulating fragrance that went in from the tip of his nose, making him feel excited. With his eyes staring at her, he felt his mind turn blank. As she felt some warmth on her hand, Xiao Xian suddenly realized what she had done. She had her palm over his mouth. This was very embarrassing. Xiao Xian let out a small, low cry and blushed. She calmed down after a moment and withdrew her hand, repeating her words just to drive away the embarrassing moment. I can explain to you. As the soft feeling on his lips went away, Xiao Yunduan let out a secret sigh of relief. But at the same time he wished that the palm could have stayed on for a bit longer. You can explain now. His head had turned messy and he spoke up randomly. Xiao Xian coughed and composed herself. She started speaking in a small voice. I am telling you the truth. It is just, I found Ding Xiang very pitiful to have a family like that. No one would help her, so I gave her some food to eat. You won't think I'm nosy, right? I was reminded of how I was treated at the Qiao family. I am not blaming you. Xiao Yunduan's heart softened as he heard her mentioning the Qiao family. He asked her gently. You were not noticed, right? Xiao Xian had not expected that her explanation would work so well. She felt a bit guilty but smiled. I was careful. You should discuss such matters with me in the future, okay? Okay. I will keep this a secret for you. Don't mention it to anyone else. Of course, you are the only person I told this to. Xiao Yunduan smiled and felt much better. He reminded her again. Don't tell Mom about this either. It is never good to tell one more person about it. Actually, he was worried that his mother would blame her if she knew about it. Chapter 238. Good thing Xiao Xian did not give her too many things, nor did she want to tell anyone about it. But for Xiao Yunduan, who suspected her, she would not have disclosed it to Xiao Yunduan. So she just nodded and agreed. Unassured, Xiao Yunduan stressed some more and then finally stopped. Xiao Xian let out a sigh of relief. The following day, Xiao Xian, Xiao Yunduan, Xiao Xiaoqi and Xiao Taotao went into the mountains for a walk. They did not find any major things the day before, and Xiao Xiaoqi wasn't very satisfied with the result. He was motivated to find some bigger prey. Feeling bored, Xiao Xian decided to tag along. When she proposed it, Xiao Yunduan suggested following her into the mountains as well, at the premise that he had not affected his study plan. He could make up for it later. The four of them went into the area they had never been to before. The green hills were quiet, the ancient trees were towering, and the thick fallen leaves were rustling. The temperature in the mountains was much lower than outside and it was cool to walk in it. From time to time, the crisp and pleasant sound of birds chirping could be heard, and the echo reverberated through the valley, sounding quite melodious. With her superpower, Xiao Xian could see all the good mountain stuff. But they were only here to pick some precious mushrooms. Xiao Xiaoqi found some bamboo partridges in the forest, and hunted them successfully. Bamboo partridge were as big as pegans, and the flesh could be very tasty, different from ordinary roosters. They were just walking when Xiao Xian saw something with her superpower. She saw that there was a patch of tea woods standing out on the valley in the southeast direction. Two of the tea trees were strong and the leaves were both dark green, looking quite tempting. Xiao Xian did not have much knowledge of tea. She had once seen many wild-growing tea trees here, which did not draw her attention. But this patch of tea trees gave her a very strange, different feeling. Her sense told her that these were wonderful things. Motivated, Xiao Xian believed that their trip could be rewarding with this. The two old tea trees were ancient, and the leaves were tender. They could be obtained and taken for tea at home. Therefore, Xiao Xian secretly took the other three members of their team in that direction. As they came to the feet of the mountains, she pointed at the patch of tea trees on the valley within their sights. Look, that is a cluster of tea trees. The leaves are so tender and we can take some home. The tea made out of it should be very tasty. Xiao Yunduan spotted them too. He had more knowledge of tea than Xiao Xiaoqi and Xiao Taotao. He added with a smile after seeing the patch. The leaves look very good. Let's get going. Okay, fifth brother and fifth sister-in-law. Qi and Taotao would never object to the suggestion made by them. Both of them were very interested in food and drinks. Xiao Xiaoqi asked. Fifth sister-in-law, apart from making tea, can the tea leaves be used for anything else? Xiao Taotao's eyes sparkled and she looked excited. Qiao Xian nodded and smiled. Of course they can be used to fry with shrimps, eggs and make pancakes. We can use tea water to stew chicken and bones, and we can even add the leaves to braised dishes or stir-fry. Anyway, let's take them home. Chapter 239 Flourishing, okay. Xiao Xiaoqi and Xiao Taotao laughed and looked excited and hopeful. Let's go and pick the tea leaves. The patch of tea trees was located a bit over halfway of the mountains, and the team who was used to walking in the mountains, reached the place almost an hour later, since the mountain was so large. Qiao Xian had already sensed the scent of tea when they were very far away. She felt even more motivated. Equipped with the superpower, she was well connected with plants in this world, and she was even more sensitive towards things which were extraordinary. As they went closer to the tea woods, Xiao Yunduan could smell the scent of tea as well. It smells so good. Yeah, it is so good. Before Qiao Xian could say anything, everyone else already understood that it was a good thing in front of them. Apart from the two ancient, large tea trees, there were some middle-sized ones as well as small sprouts everywhere on the ground. Both Xiao Xiaoqi and Xiao Taotao were good at climbing trees, and they prepared to go up. Fifth sister-in-law, are there any rules to pick the tea leaves? Just the tip will do, right? Qiao Xian nodded. Yes, don't get too much of the stem. 2 tender leaves should be enough. The two of them nodded and went to the top of the trees. Qiao Xian smiled at Xiao Yunduan. Let's go and get them. Xiao Yunduan nodded. They had some rug bags with them as they went into the mountains and they came handy now. The leaves were not very heavy and those 2 large bags should be enough. Back facing the others, Qiao Xian pinched a small tea tree sprout and tried to stuff it into the space. Xiao Xian's eyes sparkled as she realized what happened. Went in. It seemed that the tea trees which she could not name were really precious things. Qiao Xian brought some more trees to space. The spring became increasingly flourishing. They started to head home after getting 2 bags full of tea leaves. The tea leaves seemed like precious things, so the trip was worth it, though they never got any prey. Qiao Xian got them to dig some more arm-sized tea tree sprouts and tied them together, so they could take them home. Soon they ran into another patch of small tea woods. The tea wood was much smaller than the first one they saw, and apart from one ancient tree, there were some other mid-sized ones. The sprouts were everywhere, growing in the shadow. The trees probably could not grow well due to the lack of sun and oxygen. The tree looked quite special too. The trunk and twigs were purple whilst the leaves were dark green, and the new sprouts were tenderly red. They could smell the scent of roses as well as herbs. Xiao Xiaoqi and Xiao Taotao, who had no idea about tea, could not help but praise. It smells so good. They did not want to leave like this. So they paused and started to pick some more. Qiao Xian delivered some more tree sprouts into the space, which accepted them as well. She got 7 or 8 pieces into space and suddenly she could tell that her superpower had been expanded. More importantly, the mist around the small wooden house was diminished to some degree. Surprised, Qiao Xian glanced about and without letting Xiao Yunduan see her, she pushed some more tree sprouts into the space. Chapter 240 Escape. However, the space did not undergo any major changes, apart from becoming more flourishing. Qiao Xian finally came to the conclusion after many times of experience that she needed to get many precious plants into space, so that the amount could lead to major changes. Qiao Xian got a large bag of purple-colored tea leaves as well as some tea tree sprouts. They tied them up together and started to head home. It was a good harvest. As they went back home, Qiao Xian asked Tao Tao for help. They planted the tea trees in the yard and at the corners of the floral field. Then they started to process the fresh tea leaves. No one had any idea how to process it in a complicated way, but the villagers usually fried them and got the water out so the tea leaves would be in the best condition for storage. This time they did the same. The tea leaves relieved the thirst, so villagers loved to have some planted next to their yards. In this way they could pick some and fry them for daily tea drinking. These tea trees were not precious ones but ordinary ones. So they did not need to be taken well care of, nor did they need to be chopped or trimmed. The trees they brought home today were apparently different from the ones they drank at home. Qiao Xian was thinking about taking some twigs and leaves for Manager Qin to take a look. If it was a precious kind, she would turn the field she bought from the Jianghu village into a tea garden. Qiao Xian used some fresh tea leaves to make the dishes for dinner. These 2 kinds of tea leaves became increasingly fragrant, and the scent made people feel fresh in their minds. Miss Fong praised it highly and smiled. I never expected that there would be such fabulous things in the mountains. These leaves seem to taste different from what we drink every day. Qiao Xian smiled. There are many precious things in the mountains. Qi is familiar with the paths, so he takes us to these places. He knows far more than others. Miss Fong laughed. He hunts, but he doesn't know about tea. It is you and Duan who helped. Ms. Fong and Xiao Xian exchanged a few words and said suddenly, remember Ding Xiang who was trapped in the ancestral hall? When Ms. Zhou brought her food at lunchtime, she was gone. Ms. Zhou and Ding Erju are so anxious and are looking around for her everywhere. The girl is so bold as to escape. Xiao Xian was shocked and her face changed. She escaped. Yeah. Ms. Fong kept the gossip flowing. I never expected that this girl could be so stubborn. I thought she was a quiet one. But why did she run away when she was in the ancestral hall? Where can she go? Will she come back? She would receive even worse punishment when she returns because her grandparents are so angry now. Xiao Xian panicked. She did not give any response as her mind got confused. She had a feeling that Ding Xiang did not run out of the ancestral hall out of anger. More importantly, she felt that the girl was not going to come back. Chapter 241. The Ding family. She must have escaped and left Xiaoding village. In fact, she might be planning to leave the county. Probably that was how she turned her life around and walked to the peak of her life. She had escaped. Did she save some extraordinary man who came to pay back his gratitude, so that they got married and she became rich due to her husband? The images she had seen about the girl must have happened after she reached the peak. She felt slightly better as she thought about these. At least she knew that after going through twists and turns, the girl would have a bright future. Otherwise, what would happen to a girl who ran away from her clan and drifted about outside? That thought made her feel anxious. Xiao Xian learned of the whole story from Ms. Fong. Ms. Zhou had wanted to give Ding Xiang some food and drink for dinner the night before, but 5th Grandma Ding was too annoyed to approve of this idea. She had lectured Ms. Zhou and ordered her not to give the girl any food. 5th Grandpa Ding was also very annoyed by how Ding Xiang humiliated them in front of the whole village, so he intended to make her reflect on herself and let her suffer. He also ordered not to give her any food, until she admitted her mistake. In 5th Grandpa Ding's opinion, she would not die just because she missed a meal. She needed to be seriously disciplined so she could know what mistake she had made and that she would never dare to do it again. Ding Erju cared for his daughter, but he was too obedient to counter what his daughter had said. He did not even raise his voice in front of his parents. Ms. Zhou became desperate. She cried throughout the night. The following morning, Ms. Zhou felt even more distressed. But she did not get any chance to shed tears. She had no choice but to make food whilst listening to her mother-in-law's horrible words. All the way until lunchtime, Ms. Zhou could not stand it anymore. She decided to sneak in a bowl of porridge for her daughter at the ancestral hall. However, she failed to find Ding Xiang at the ancestral hall. She looked everywhere, but Ding Xiang was nowhere to be seen. Mentally stimulated, Ms. Zhou staggered home and passed on the message, begging everyone to help her find the daughter. The Ding family got startled. Apart from Ms. Zhou and Ding Erju, everyone else got furious about it. 5th Grandma Ding snapped. What? That damn girl ran away? How dare she run away from the ancestral hall? She better not come back, otherwise I will break her leg. 5th Grandpa Ding also trembled in anger. Unruly kid. This girl has to be lectured. The 1st and the 3rd sections of the family also made complaints. We are now the joke of the village again. 2nd brother and 2nd sister-in-law, how did you turn Ding Xiang into such a kid? I have never seen a girl as bold as this. She ran away from the ancestral hall. Damn. 2nd sister-in-law, just don't keep crying. The girl must be hiding somewhere in the mountains and she will return when it turns dark. Otherwise, where would she go? Chapter 242. Nowhere to be seen. Ms. Zhou glared at her 3rd sister-in-law. Ms. Lu got startled by her unexpected glare. She became really furious after recovering a bit. She glared back and snapped. What are you staring at me for? Are you blaming me for not teaching your daughter well? 5th Grandma Ding sneered. What are all of you making a fuss about? It is a small issue. Just drop it. The damn girl can return when she is tired outside. I will teach her a good lesson. Also, Ms. Zhou, how dare you ignore what I told you? Who gave you the permit to give food to the damn girl? Just wait for your punishment. Ms. Zhou could not stand that anymore. She cried. How can you all be like this? Ding Xiang is missing. You are not looking for her but keep saying horrible words. If she is gone, I will kill myself too. Ms. Zhou rushed out. Ding Erju went out with her as well. 5th Grandma Ding shouted. Stop it, 2nd son, are you trying to rebel against me too? With his eyes turning red, Ding Erju sobbed. Mom, that is my daughter. She is gone. What if something happens to her? I need to find her first. and I will receive your punishment when I find her." Having said the words, Ding Erju rushed out. Fifth Grandma Ding shouted, "How dare you? I have raised you for nothing." The other sections of the family got startled and exchanged a look between themselves. No one had expected that the obedient second section of the family rebelled due to Ding Xiang. They started to feel uneasy. It seemed as if something were falling out of their control. What happened to Ding Xiang and the Ding family soon spread all over the village. Some sighed and some laughed. Some even went out to seek the girl. After all, it was a living girl that was missing. Although they all grew up in the mountains, it was a very dangerous place. What if something happened for real? Fifth Grandpa Ding could not stand the humiliation. He ordered the other family members to look for her. Fifth Grandma Ding, who was still unwilling to do so, went out with the others after being lectured by Fifth Grandpa Ding. However, Ding Xiang was nowhere to be seen, even after half a day's search. They started to get anxious. The deeper they went, the more dangerous it would be. So more people went into the mountains to seek for the girl. Xiao Dalong and his brothers, who had just carried the mushrooms home, also went out to help. Qiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan returned from the mountains and failed to find Ding Xiang after a while. Xiao Yunduan and Xiao Xiaoqi even said that they never saw anyone on their way home. It was getting dark and even adults did not dare to stay in the mountains when it turned dark. So the villagers returned one after another, and decided to continue with the search the following day. They all knew that a teen girl would never end up well after spending a night in the mountains. Probably when they found her eventually after a few days, she would be a corpse already. Ms. Zhou came home crying loudly. Ding Erju, who was dumbfounded, followed her. Chapter 243 Xiao Yunduan's Consolation. The Ding family finally panicked. They who were fierce never thought about killing Ding Xiang. She was a living person, their child. Fifth Grandma Ding panicked above all. It had been she who caused all of this to happen. The more anxious she was, the more she tried to calm herself down. She pushed the fault onto Ding Xiang. Damn girl, how dare she rebel? Who taught her this? She doesn't want to be punished? Damn girl, totally damned. Inside the room, Ms. Zhou threw herself into Ding Erza's arms, crying with hatred. Just listen to what your mom is saying. How can she be so fierce as to call Ding Xiang names? She is trying to get us all killed. Ding Erza's veins on his forehead popped as he patted her shoulders, whispering, "Just calm down, Ding Xiang, she should be fine." During the night, most families in the village started to talk about this. They sighed. Those parents and grandparents who never paid enough attention to their children started to panic as well. They all said that it was Ding Xiang's fault for being rude and hot-tempered. Qiao Xian was more certain by this point that Ding Xiang had escaped the village. She had seen that Ding Xiang was different from the other village girls, and this was exactly what she would have done. The images in her head had shown that Ding Xiang would definitely become an outstanding and successful woman. But an isolated village girl like her, who intended to escape from her original family, would definitely have to go through some misery first. Qiao Xian felt quite emotional and she looked a bit conflicted. Xiao Yunduan took Qiao Xian back to the room after dinner. He closed the door instantly and with one hand on Qiao Xian's shoulder, he looked at her seriously. Startled, Qiao Xian looked up at him. Xiao Yunduan sighed inwardly. He had noticed that she was absent-minded the whole evening. Xiao Yunduan suppressed his voice. "Listen, you should never reveal anything about your visit to the ancestral hall last night, got it?" Ding Xiang was gone after her visit. She would surely be suspected if something really happened to Ding Xiang. Then, it would be very difficult to make an explanation. Qiao Xian nodded as her heart turned warm. "I won't. Just calm down," Xiao Yunduan said gently as he looked more relaxed. It is not very surprising when a stubborn girl like her would run away from the Ding family. It actually might be a good thing for her. She had mentioned how she felt about Ding Xiang the night before and now Ding Xiang was gone. Xiao Yunduan could not help but console her, fearing that she would be saddened by her disappearance. Qiao Xian nodded and then leaned against Xiao Yunduan involuntarily, saying with a low voice, "I am calm. I even think that Ding Xiang will have a bright future. She just regretted not having given Ding Xiang some money." Xiao Yunduan stiffened and lifted his arm, patting her lightly. Maybe, Xiao Yunduan was actually not very sure about it. Chapter 244 Separation. Ding Xiang had never been outside the village. A 15-year-old girl like her would definitely run into danger. Xiao Yunduan and Xiao Xian suspected that Ding Xiang had run away from the village, rather than in the mountains. The villagers spent 3 days but failed to find Ding Xiang. 3 days later they stopped the search. It was all they could have helped with. They all believed that Ding Xiang must have died in the deep mountains. Either she fell into the valley and went unnoticed, or she had been eaten up by a beast. A young girl would not stay alive after spending 3 days in the deep mountains. No one except for Xiao and Xiao Yunduan thought that she would have escaped the village. That was beyond their imagination. Most of the villagers had only been to the town a few times, and some had never been to the town in their entire lives. No girl in her teens would be assumed to run away from home on such a long trip. That was just the least they could think of. Ms. Zhou was so sad that she shouted at 5th Grandma Ding and 5th Grandpa Ding that it was their fault that her daughter died. 5th Grandma Ding, who had been feeling a bit scared about her potential cause of her granddaughter's death, got even more furious hearing Ms. Zhou's blaming words. She slapped her twice, saying that she taught her daughter badly, and that it was her fault that Ding Xiang had done something like this. Ms. Zhou cried even harder. She wanted to live separately or she was going to get a divorce. 5th Grandma Ding and her husband trembled in anger. 5th Grandma Ding forced Ding Erju to divorce Ms. Zhou, so she did not have to see Ms. Zhou anymore, who would remind her of Ding Xiang and make her uncomfortable. But Ding Erju did not agree. His daughter died and his son was only 3 years old. Now his mother was forcing him to divorce his wife? That was like killing him directly. 5th Grandpa Ding was annoyed too. He agreed with them separating from the family, but not right now, otherwise his family's reputation would be ruined. But both Ding Erju and Ms. Zhou made up their minds to leave the home directly. They even regretted not having agreed to live separately when their daughter said so. If they had done so on the other day, things would be different now. In fact, deep in their heart they wanted to live separately too, just that they did not dare to say it out loud. Now their daughter was gone, they would definitely move out of the family for the sake of fulfilling her last wish. 5th Grandpa Ding snapped and said that if Ding Erju and Ms. Zhou would move out of their family, they would be removed from their household and they would have no attachment to the family. They would just pretend that they never had a son like him. Also, he did not need to support them when they got old. 5th Grandpa Ding said so decisively because he wanted to frighten Ding Erju and Ms. Zhou, in case they thought about living separately again. He expected them to move out after 3 or 5 years, when Ding Xiang's disappearance was forgotten about. They would just sit and talk about this peacefully at that time. But not right now. 5th Grandpa Ding's decisive words made Ding Erju and Ms. Zhou feel worse. They had just lost their daughter due to his parents' intimidating attitudes, but his parents did not even feel sorry. Instead, they said such hurtful things, it seemed that the elders did not seem to care about them at all. Chapter 245. Nothing attached. Had they been treated with respect, they would not have heard words like this. Hence, they nodded without hesitation. They wanted to move out of the family immediately and started to live separately. Ding Erju even got a land officer and tribe chief as witnesses. 5th Grandpa Ding was so surprised and frightened that he wanted to sneak into the ground out of humiliation. How could this obedient son of his become so stubborn? But he could not revoke his words. He would be even more humiliated if he went back on it. So the whole thing was solved directly. With the young son in their arms, Ding Erju packed some clothes whilst Ms. Zhou carried away 2 cages of her dowries and left the Ding family. 5th Grandpa Ding was so fierce that he did not even give them any food. He expected them to come and beg for him when they could not survive. He would like to see how they could live. Ding Erju and his wife temporarily moved into a barren house close to the village. Many villagers showed sympathy and gave them some food. But it depended on them how they were going to survive. Ms. Fang did not like 5th Grandma Ding, but she felt sorry for Ms. Zhou and Ding Erju. Though she kept saying that it was their own fault for being weak that they were in this state now. Yet that was their personality which could not be changed easily. It was, after all, the old grandma of the Ding family who had caused all of these. Ms. Fang took a small pot, 2 sets of bowls and chopsticks, a wooden bucket, some rice, noodles, vegetables, oil, salt, and a dozen eggs from home, and asked Mrs. Su and Yang Xiaoni to send the things to the couple. They were rich enough to spare some stuff and Ms. Fang was very generous. She said to Qiao Xian and smiled. You don't need to go over, it is really filthy there. Ms. Fang apparently was favoring Qiao Xian, and if the other daughter-in-laws of hers were stingy enough, they would get angry as to why they were told to go, but not Qiao Xian. But Ms. Su and Yang Xiaoni did not find it wrong, let alone having anything against that. But Qiao Xian felt a bit guilty about it. She felt that it was not so good when her mother-in-law showed the bias so blatantly. It is fine, Mom. I can go and see them. Qiao Xian smiled and picked up the basket of eggs. Ms. Fang believed that she was just curious. She smiled. All right then, you can go and check it if you want to. Qiao Xian really wanted to have a look at the couple. Ding Erju and Ms. Zhou as well as their son had broken their relationship with 5th Grandpa Ding and their life must be hard. Ms. Zhou was not very healthy and they had a 3-year-old to take care of. Qiao Xian and Ding Xiang exchanged a few words and they wondered when Ms. Zhou and Ding Erju would manage to get back to their feet. She wanted to go and visit them so if she asked them for help later, the proposal would not be so sudden. When Qiao Xian and her team arrived, the villagers were there too. They were all curious about how such a thing happened because it had never happened in decades in the village. At this moment, Ding Erju and Ms. Zhou had already got many things piled up in their house, which were all gifts from the villagers. They had even repaired the house with wood and straws. Chapter 246 Fifth Grandpa Ding's Grudge. The vegetables sent by others were all vegetables produced in the field, and at most one bowl of rice or a bowl of leftovers was added. Seeing that Miss Fong and her family was so generous who had given rice and noodles, it would add up to 10 kilograms. There were more than a dozen eggs, so they were all shocked. "You are so generous, Miss Fong. There are eggs too. Oh, they are so rich." They all turned to Qiao Xian subconsciously and thought without any hesitation. The first section of the Qiao family had a very rich daughter-in-law, so they were offering so much. "I am just here visiting you all," Miss Fong smiled, feeling both proud and happy. Her daughter-in-law was not only rich, generous but also very good at making money. But she needed to keep a low profile, otherwise they were all going to be even more jealous. Ms. Zhou and Ding Erju were shocked. Ms. Zhou shed tears. "Miss Fong, this is so generous of you. We have eggs. Just keep them for the child." Miss Fong patted Ms. Zhou's hands, feeling a bit sorry for her who looked pale and skinny as well as the starved boy next to her. Ms. Zhou felt her heart break and could not turn down her offer. "Thank you," she sobbed. They could not help but console her, seeing her shedding tears. When it started to get late, they all went home to make food. Miss Qiao and Miss Fong left as well. Miss Fong added, "We are all living in the same village. If you ever need any help, just tell us, don't be shy." Ms. Zhou and Ding Erju nodded and sobbed. "Thank you so much, Miss Fong." When everyone else was gone, the small house was quiet again. Ms. Zhou and Ding Erju felt so sorrowful and relaxed as well. But they seemed to have seen hope ahead. Ding Erju said, "I will go and dig a field tomorrow. I will not allow you two to get hungry. We will get better little by little." Ms. Zhou nodded and sounded nasal. But, Ding Xiang, her daughter was gone forever. Ms. Zhou could not help but sob. "Don't cry." Ding Erju patted her on her shoulders and could not stop shedding tears too. He regretted having lived like this for the past few years. Yet it was too late to think about this now. No matter what else he could do, his daughter was gone forever. Fifth Grandpa Ding was also aware that the fellow villagers had delivered some things to Ding Erju and his wife, but he did not stop them. It would have made him look too cruel. But they would not deliver any food to them because they would not bend down for them. Fifth Grandpa Ding felt a bit annoyed. He did not like it when Ding Erju and Ms. Zhou had no idea what they ought to do. They should not be blamed for Ding Xiang's disappearance. It was Ding Xiang's fault that she was gone. She was a grandchild who should have obeyed her grandparents' words rather than do everything on her own. She not only countered them but also humiliated them. Also, she did not listen to his suggestions. Worse, she ran away from the ancestral hall and ended up dead. So what? It was all her fault. Chapter 247 Kind-hearted. It was completely her fault. Ding Erju had been obedient for so many years, but he countered them so fiercely. The whole family had become just too troublesome. At the first section of the Xiao family. When Xiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan went back to their own room, Xiao Xian sighed to Xiao Yunduan. "Ms. Zhou and her family are so pitiful. I would like to help them." Xiao Yunduan frowned. His wife was too kind-hearted. He understood that she was feeling sorry for them, and she would feel bad if she did not offer them some support. Xiao Yunduan asked, "What is your plan?" Fifth Grandpa Ding is a stubborn man, and Fifth Grandma Ding is absolutely unreasonable. If Uncle Erju and his family live a bad life, then they would be forgotten gradually, but if their lives get better while they are still here in the village, I am afraid that there will be more trouble in the future. I don't want them to trouble you. It was never a good thing to get involved with Fifth Grandma Ding and Fifth Grandpa Ding. Qiao Xian smiled in return. "Don't worry, I know what to do. My plan is to ask Uncle Erju if they are interested in shifting and helping us take care of the field at the Zhang village. In this way they should be far away from Fifth Grandpa Ding's family as well." Xiao Yunduan's eyes sparkled as he grinned. "That is a good idea. Don't worry, let's just follow this plan." Qiao Xian nodded. She needed to conduct the plan gradually. Also, they wondered if Ding Erju and Ms. Zhou had their own thoughts for the future. They should not disturb their plan either. Qiao Xian felt a bit tired after spending 2 days in the mountains. She planned to make lipsticks in the floral field at home in the near future. Miss Su and Yang Xiaoni were still removing weeds, hence, Only Qiao Xian and Xiao Taotao were busy making lipsticks. As for Xiao Xiaoqi, he had just run into the mountains alone for a walk. He was used to running in the hills. Despite being young, he was very rich in experience, so no one stopped him. In the evening, after Miss Su and all left, Qiao Xian went to the floral field alone. She had a basket with her. She had told the family about getting the wolfberry sprout home for frying. But in fact, she was there to pour in her superpower. The pomegranate flowers would not bloom until some days later, but Qiao Xian could not wait. She wanted to use the flowers to make lipsticks, and she needed to use her superpower to hasten the process. Also, she was going to try and make the tea trees grow. She concentrated hard and her superpower moved with her heart. An invisible energy wave spread out layer by layer like ripples on the water surface. Under her control, all of them went in the direction she wanted. A quarter of an hour later, Qiao Xian relaxed and let out a sigh of relief. She looked at the pomegranate flowers, bright and red, hanging on the branches of the trees. Most of them had already bloomed. By the time she came tomorrow, they would all bloom. Apart from these, there were new flowers that were yet to bloom. Those transplanted tea saplings had also taken root and the leaves were green. They were full of energy and there was no slack in the slightest. Satisfied, Qiao Xian hummed and went to pick the wolfberry sprouts. She picked up a small patch of wolfberry which was growing brightly. The sprouts had spread and the wolfberries were ready. Chapter 248 Qiao Xian's bad feelings. Within a short while, Qiao Xian filled in half a basket and left the remaining ones for frying. They would be made to cook egg and wolfberry sprouts. After she left the floral field, she ran into Ms. Zhang from the second section of the family. Qiao Xian smiled and called out second sister-in-law out of politeness, when Ms. Zhang reacted with a smile. What a coincidence, fifth sister-in-law. Yes. Qiao Xian nodded and smiled. Bye. Hey, fifth sister-in-law. Ms. Zhang stopped her and looked at her basket. The wolfberry is very fresh. Qiao Xian confusedly let out a response. Yes. She wondered what Ms. Zhang wanted to say. Ms. Zhang smiled. It looks so fresh. I heard that you have many wolfberry sprouts planted in your floral field. Maybe I can go inside and get some as well? Qiao Xian, wolfberry sprouts were not precious things and she had many in the field. There were still a whole bunch left. Theoretically speaking, she should have said yes to this second sister-in-law. However, Ms. Zhang was from the second section of the family, and she did not want her to see what was inside the floral field. She could not let her see the lipstick tubes, the bee boxes or the trees including the tea trees. Qiao Xian smiled. I can share half of it with you. You are so generous. I like you so much. Ms. Zhang smiled and added. But I don't want to just take your things. I can pick them up myself. I would like to see what your floral field is like. Fifth sister-in-law, you won't be so stingy as not to let me in, right? Qiao Xian got disgusted. Ms. Zhang was trying to morally kidnap her. She would be stingy for not letting her in? Then okay. Second sister-in-law, I have got all the wolfberry sprouts and the wolfberries inside aren't big enough for the sprouts to come out. If you want, you can have mine in the basket. Alright, that is fine. Ms. Zhang was a sneaky person. She had wanted to take them but she did not want to just take the stuff. She wanted to get a look at the whole floral field. But I just want to see your floral field, why not let me in? I see the elder sister-in-law, third sister-in-law and Tao Tao keep going inside. Maybe I can help you too? Qiao Xian's face sank. No thanks, they are enough. Fifth sister-in-law. I always ask mom for approval. How about you asking her what she thinks? Ms. Zhang got stuck. Ms. Fong would never approve of this request. She knew very well that Ms. Fong was sneaky and stingy. Ms. Zhang smiled staggered. We can talk about this later, Qiao Xian smiled politely. Okay, I need to go now. Bye. With that, she left. Ms. Zhang saw Qiao Xian going away and her face sank. She was not pleased at all. Bah. She spat on the ground and mumbled. What are you putting on an act for? Chapter 249 Dumbfounded Ms. Zhang was not interested in Qiao Xian's floral field. She just wanted to get close to Qiao Xian. If she was able to persuade Qiao Xian to let her work for her, she could earn 10 won a day easily, which would be great for her. But she also understood that the likelihood of it happening was very small. Hence, she thought about borrowing money from Qiao Xian. Her brother's wife was soon going to give birth to a baby, and they needed money. But her mother-in-law was too stingy to loan her any money, so she had to come up with some other ideas. She had 2 sisters and 1 brother. The 3 sisters were all taught to treat their brother well since they were young. They were repeatedly told that the brother was the only offspring of the Zhang family. Their brother had a sweet tongue and he treated his sisters well. So the sisters were good to him too, and continued to help him even after they got married. Now his wife was going to give birth and she had to get some money and other things to help him. She had been watching Qiao Xian these days and wanted to get close to her. But Qiao Xian barely stepped out of the house. Moreover, she was always with someone, so she never got the chance to speak with her. So Ms. Zhang went to the floral field to meet Qiao Xian, when she heard that Qiao Xian was there alone. But she was still a bit too late to run into Qiao Xian inside. Otherwise, she could just have exchanged some more words with her alone. She could even help Qiao Xian do some work at the time so that Qiao Xian would not turn her down if she made a small request. Also, she never expected that Qiao Xian was so blunt. She had said it so straightforwardly, and Qiao Xian should have at least approved this small request since they were in the same family. Why was she not allowed to see the floral field? But Qiao Xian just turned her down. She could also tell that Qiao Xian had no interest in speaking with her, let alone getting close to her. She needed to find another opportunity to speak with her alone. But the chance was very slim. Ms. Zhang was so annoyed that she had no idea what to do. Qiao Xian did not bother about this encounter. She was not even afraid of Ms. Niu. How could she be afraid of Ms. Zhang? What she had not expected was that second uncle and third uncle came to their home again. Both of them were very displeased. They kept blaming Qiao Xian for hiring cousins rather than them, and said that it was not at all reasonable on her part. She had promised to hire them when she had some more work to do. Qiao Xian told the others that she paid 10 yuan a day, which second uncle and third uncle were happy to accept. It was always good to get some payment. Qiao Xian did not turn them down. She nodded and smiled. Okay, but have you forgotten about the rakes we made for you? You can count and see how much labor you owe us. You can pay back what you owe us and then we can talk about payment. Both second uncle and third uncle were dumbfounded. They had already forgotten about the labor, but for Qiao Xian who mentioned that. How much labor was that? It was worth more than 20 days. So, they needed to work for the second section of the family for free before they were able to get paid. Chapter 250 Attitudes. How could that be possible? Second uncle immediately said, your work is your own, how can you take the shared labor as personal labor? Ms. Fong took her daughter-in-law's side. She snorted. Why not? I support her. Anyone who has an opinion against that, come to me. Qiao Xian smiled. Thanks, Mom. Who would dare to speak with Ms. Fong? Also, Xiao Sanlang and the others in the family could tell that Qiao Xian was teasing the second and the third sections of the family, so they were glad to watch the show. Eldest uncle, who wanted to keep his face, did not dare to counter his wife, when his family took so much advantage of Qiao Xian and her dowry. Qiao Xian continued. I have rules for my work. You need to produce 20 pieces of a particular size and dimension every single day, otherwise the payment won't be given. If you want to work under such strict requirements, you can do that. Second uncle and third uncle turned pale. They had no interest in doing the labor work. They were even less willing to work 20 days for free. Xiao Yunduan added. It is really hard work. We don't want you to do that, that is why we hired someone else. If we have some other easy work, we will turn to you for help. Second uncle and third uncle snorted and left. They were not interested in doing heavy labor. But they felt a bit regretful by this point. They should not have signed that paper to start with. That was not right. They felt so annoyed that they had to work for approximately 20 days for free if they ever wanted to work for Qiao Xian in the future. Miss Fong laughed. It was a great idea. If they ever want to ask for our help, we can keep bringing up this note again and again. Xiao Sanlang laughed. That is really good. Eldest uncle frowned and glanced at Qiao Xian, sighing. But what? Miss Fong snapped. Isn't it good that we have rules to deal with each other? Who wants to work for free? We can offer help, but they need to pay us or make an equal return. Isn't that reasonable? We would need help as well. Miss Fong sounded so firm that eldest uncle snorted. You don't understand. Miss Fong rolled her eyes. Then you can stop talking about it. The others simply ran away when they saw an argument coming. Seeing the scene, Miss Fong left and eldest uncle was alone in the room. Eldest uncle was so annoyed. You know nothing. What were they all doing? They did not have any love for others. Eldest uncle got very annoyed and believed that it was Miss Qiao who had changed everyone's mind. But Qiao Xian's idea made the others in the family feel so motivated. They had a rooster to eat for dinner that night. Xiaoqi had brought one home from the mountains. She put the chicken nuggets in a large bowl, added seasonings, dried dates, ginkgo and lotus seeds. Then she put them in a large pot and steamed them with water. It was the best way to keep the freshness and sweetness of the chicken, and it tasted just right. Chapter 251 Hard working. There were many fish in the big water tank, so a big catfish was caught and stewed with eggplants. Xian also saw that the salted duck eggs she had marinated a while ago could now be eaten. They were not too salty. She peeled several of them. The snow-white egg whites and the oily orange-red egg yolks looked very tempting. Also, there were other dishes including a plate of stir-fried wolfberry buds, wolfberry egg drop soup, cold yam slices, cold fungus, peanuts and green peppers. It was a table full of bright colors. There was meat and vegetables, all looked very appetizing. This was the first time they ate salted duck eggs. Everyone praised them, especially the oily salted egg yolk, which everyone loved. Xian decided to buy some tofu the next time she met a tofu seller. She would cut it into finger-sized diced tofu, and fry it with salted egg yolk. The taste would be very good. The following day Xiao Dalong and the others were still going to chop mushrooms. It would mostly be done in the next 2 days. After that, they would use a saw to cut the fungus material into a suitable length, and then build a shed. With that, the fungus room would be completed. Qiao Xian, Tao Tao, Miss Su and Yang Xiaoni continued to work in the floral field. Seeing the pomegranate tree blooming, they were all amazed. However, when the pomegranate flower bloomed, it meant that a new lipstick variety could be produced. Everyone was looking forward to it. Qiao Xian was very generous. When the lipsticks were done, she gave one to each, which was quite tempting for the ladies. Yang Xiaoni and Miss Su helped to pick the flowers before getting down to weeding. Work hard, we will be done with the weed in a couple of days. Okay. Having exchanged a few words, they started to work hard. Qiao Xian was worried that Ms. Zhang would appear here, which might be a potential trouble. She needed to send her away. She was not going to let her in. However, Ms. Zhang did not appear. That was quite surprising. She was sure that when Ms. Zhang sucked up to her the day before, she must be planning to get something out of her. But did she give up so fast after she was turned down? Suddenly she realized that her elder sister-in-law, third sister-in-law and Tao Tao were all here, and Ms. Zhang must not want to be seen by any of them. Therefore, she did have the intention, but she also wanted to dodge the rest of the first section of the family. Qiao Xian wondered whether she was planning to borrow money from her. Ms. Zhang always took advantage of her in-laws' home, and tried very hard to move everything to her mother's house. Therefore, if she went to the first section of the family to borrow money, she would most likely be turned down. After all, she would never return it, since she intended to give away the money to her mother's home. If she could not return the money, the first section of the family would not give it. Maybe Ms. Zhang believed that if she was alone, she could be easily persuaded. Qiao Xian felt speechless. However, when Qiao Xian understood what Ms. Zhang wanted out of her, she believed that as long as she was not alone, Ms. Zhang would not ask her for money. She was not afraid of Ms. Zhang. She just did not want to get involved with her. Qiao Xian and Xiao Taotao managed to make 24 lipsticks during the morning. It was a blended shade consisting of red and orange color, beautiful and shining like the sun, tempting and lustful. Qiao Xian gave one to each of them. Xiao Taotao loved it. This is such a good shade. It should look good on the lips. Yes, but a bit too bright. I may not dare to put it on my lips. Why not? Elder sister-in-law, you can put some and wipe off a little. The four of them talked and laughed together. Qiao Xian threw a look at the yard, and used her superpower to ripen 2 watermelons. She asked Xiao Taotao to help her carry them home. Chapter 252 Watermelon, let's see if they taste good at lunch. Xiao Taotao smiled. Of course they are sweet. You planted them. Qiao Xian smiled. Your tongue is sweeter. Taotao smiled shyly. This watermelon was bigger than a large bowl, green in skin with dark stripes. At the knock by slightly buckled knuckles, it gave a crisp and elastic sound. Qiao Xian suddenly started drooling. She knew that the watermelons she planted would taste sweet. Miss Fong and the others in the family had never seen watermelons before. They had only heard about it from Qiao Xian. Can watermelons be eaten raw? It is so sweet. I heard about a kind of sweet melon that can be eaten raw. It is very sweet. Lu Yan's eyes widened. A watermelon? Was that a real watermelon? She did not see it wrong, did she? Did second miss manage to get watermelons? Lu Yan could not help but comment. Watermelons are precious things and we don't usually see them here. Every summer old master can get 3 or 4. He and Madame Qiao take them as treasure. When you cut the red melon inside there is a lot of juice and a fresh fragrance. I heard that it tastes very sweet. Lu Yan was a maid, but she worked for the county magistrate, so she did have some knowledge about unusual things. Hearing what she said, everyone looked at the watermelon with respect and treated it carefully. Is it so precious? Then it must be a good thing. We are so lucky to get a taste of it. Miss Fong asked. Miss Qiao, just save them to make money since they are so precious. They all nodded and agreed. The farmers knew that precious things should not be ruined but sold. That was what a farmer's family normally thought. They were already very satisfied and grateful to have been able to taste this precious thing. After all, that was something even the county magistrate believed as being precious. Xian smiled. Mom, we have many more in the yard and soon they will be ripe during summer. We can eat them as much as we can, not as precious as you think. We have enough seeds and we can plant as many as we want. Miss Fong smiled and waved her hands. Just sell them for money, we don't want to eat them. It is fine, we have a lot of money now but we need good food. We can plant some more next year and sell them. Miss Fong laughed. Haha. As she thought about the fact that the family was not bad for money now, and watermelons could be grown in this field as Xiao said, it was not too uncommon to be able to grow them in the field. So she said nothing more. But what she did not know was that Xiao had used her superpower to ripen the watermelon, otherwise they would not grow this big. Normal people would not be able to get this without spending much energy, and the fruits might not have grown so well either. Honestly, watermelons attracted bugs. If it was raining during flowering and fruiting, the fruits might be dead. But for Xiao none of these was a problem. She could always dodge it successfully. Therefore her watermelons grew well, big and numerous. Miss Fong and the family had no idea about this, so they believed what Xiao said about how to plant them, and dropped the idea of thinking of them as precious. Chapter 253. Not herself. Xiao placed the 2 watermelons in the cold water bucket, waiting for Xiao Dalong and the others to return to have a taste. Miss Su asked Xiao in a staggering voice. Fifth sister-in-law, can I take some seeds to my mother's home so they can plant some next year too? Sure. Xiao nodded without hesitation. The black seeds are ripe. You can take back as many as you want. Overjoyed, Miss Su said, Thanks so much, fifth sister-in-law. Miss Su felt so happy when her request was granted so easily. After lunchtime, they surrounded the table and looked at the watermelon with wide eyes. Miss Fong felt a bit nervous as she cut it. With a crisp and low sound, the watermelon burst open. The flesh of the melon was bright red, with countless black seeds inside. This watermelon was brought back from the wild. It was not the excellent variety like the modern times. There were relatively many more seeds. But the watermelon tasted much fresher too. It tastes so good. Xiao Sanlang swallowed down the seeds. Yang Xiaoni licked her lips, smiling. Yes, it looks very tasty. Miss Fong threw a look at the couple, who were only out for food. She cut the watermelon into pieces and picked them up carefully. Everyone picked up a piece each and the juice filled up their mouths. The flesh was soft and the juice was abundant. The fresh sweetness instantly captured all the perceptions in the mouth. In an instant, all the cells in the mouth were mobilized and they couldn't wait to swallow. Different voices rang in the room. I want more. Oh God, it is so tasty. Sweet and juicy, full of flesh. No wonder it is precious. So tasty. Ah, I can eat up the whole thing. They all spoke highly of the fruit and just could not stop. Even Lu Yen was given a piece. Lu Yen was so startled that she could not help but remember how it tasted after all. That was watermelon. A precious thing. Second Miss could do everything. They ate it all up except for the 2 large slices left to Xiaoqi who was in the mountains. It tasted great. Xiao Xin eventually fell in love with the taste. Sweet, fresh and drooling. In the scorching summer, at noon with the sun in the sky, eating watermelon soaked in ice-cold water was so pleasing. The watermelons had numerous seeds but it did not hurt. Xiao Xian did not want to sell them but there were many of them at home, and they could not finish them alone. She was not giving this fruit to anyone else. Her father-in-law no longer mentioned giving it to the other sections of the family, though he had that intention. Xiao Xian ignored him conveniently. Shun had already made the plan about how to sell the watermelons. She intended to visit Mingren Tang in a couple of days and talk to manager Qin about it. Maybe the watermelons and tea leaves could be sold through them. She herself would never show up to do so. Otherwise, Officer Qiao and Madame Qiao would get a clue. Chapter 254. Not returning. Thinking that even her parents were not able to eat these precious things throughout the summer, Xiao Xian could not help but feel glad. She was going to sell the watermelons at a high price to some rich people, someone like her parents. Ding Erju and Ms. Zhou were not living a good life. The water and field had been opened by someone else and Ding Erju was left with barren land. He had no money to buy a field. He could earn a little bit by opening a few mu, and when he had more money he could sign a contract. But no one would expect to give the money in advance. At this rate they would definitely starve. Opening fields was not easy, especially when the weed was growing so crazily. Their son was only 3 years old and he could not be away from his parents, But Ms. Zhou did not want her husband to work alone. She was anxious too. Two of them were very slow, but one person alone could not finish the work. Half of the year had already passed. Now they needed to hurry up to open up wasteland, plant some taro soybeans. They hoped to rush into harvest before winter came. If it was delayed, there would be no harvest in autumn and winter. Then what would they do? They had already made the plan. In autumn and winter they would go up into the mountain to dig yam, and in autumn, there were wild chestnuts, date in the mountains too. They could dig mushrooms too. They would probably ask the first section of the Xiao family to see what they could eat. Also, Ding Erju would chop some wood and sell it in the town. In this way they might be able to buy some thick clothes and food for winter. It was so difficult to live through these days. But they would not regret this life which they had chosen. They were going to continue to persevere no matter what. The couple had to bring their son along for the wasteland opening. They put the son under the tree and started to work. The 3-year-old was so naughty that he kept playing with mud, stones, weeds, and when he was fed up with it, he ran around. Ms. Zhou had no choice but throw away the shovel to catch her son. Ms. Zhou felt so tired that she had to carry the son on her back all the time. In this way she could catch him whenever he tried to run away. But the sun was too strong for the son, so he got sunstroke and developed a fever during the night. The couple got so frightened that Ms. Zhou almost passed out. Ding Erju tried to borrow some money from his parents to visit a cheap doctor, but 5th Grandma Ding and 5th Grandpa Ding refused to give him money. 5th Grandpa Ding told him that he should apologize first before being given the money, and make the promise that he would never rebel against them again. Otherwise, he would get no money at all because he was not part of the family and could not get anything from him. Ding Erza's heart was broken. He had respected his parents for more than 30 years and that was what he got. His parents threatened him with his sick son's life. If he returned to the family, he would be humiliated to death. His wife and his son would suffer even more. Ding Erju turned away without looking back. He had his teeth clenched and knocked at the door of the first section of the Xiao family. Chapter 255 Ideas. He did not want to cause trouble to Ms. Fang, but the first section of the Xiao family must be the only people who would be willing to help them, under such circumstances. Ms. Fang was a kind-hearted person and her family was capable enough to help them. The other families might offer vegetables, bowls of rice, but never money. Hearing what he said, Ms. Fang was startled and loaned him 50 won immediately. Ding Erju thanked her with tears in his eyes and hired the doctor from the next village overnight. Luckily the boy was not seriously sick. He drank some medical herb soup and by lunchtime the following day, the body temperature dropped. Although it arose a little bit later, yet eventually, it dropped after one day. The couple guarded the boy throughout the whole night and did not dare to move away. They felt as if the sky had fallen down. Miss Fang and Miss Qiao visited them the first day, and came to see them again the next day. They had some food with them, including some vegetables and the rooster that Xiaoqi had hunted. Xiao Xian even brought a big watermelon for the child to eat, but she told them not to feed the child too much at one go. Ding Erju and Ms. Zhou felt really grateful. Ding Erju almost kneeled down to kowtow to Miss Fang, who asked Ms. Zhou to help him up. Ding Erju wiped his eyes and said, "Miss Fang, you are such a great family. We will never be able to pay back for what you have done for us. Please tell us whenever you need us to do anything. We are strong people and we will pay you back in our next life too." Miss Fang sighed. "Just drop it. We are living in the same village. You two are diligent people and you will definitely have a good life." Ding Erju and Ms. Zhou nodded hesitantly, accepting Miss Fang's good intention. But they really could not imagine what on earth their future would be. Would they get better? They just could not see any hope. Miss Fang and Xiao Xian exchanged a look as Miss Fang coughed and said, "You can't go on like this. The boy is too small to leave you and you have nothing here and you won't make it through winter. I have an idea, would you like to listen?" Miss Fang's words hit Ding Erju and Ms. Zhou's hearts. That was exactly what they were worried about. Hearing what Miss Fang said, the couple looked suddenly motivated. Ms. Zhou said, "Miss Fang, you are a nice person, please tell us what ideas you have. If you can help us, we will be really grateful." Ding Erju nodded. The couple looked at Miss Fang expectantly. Miss Fang knew of Qiao Shen's good fields at the Jianghu village, and it was Qiao Shen's proposal in the beginning. So she thought about this and believed that it was a good idea. She knew about this couple. They were both very honest and down-to-earth people. Moreover, their child was so pitiful. They could help Qiao Shen to guard the fields and could also live a better life themselves. Miss Fang told them about this but asked them to keep the secret. Qiao Shen was the daughter of the county magistrate. When Ding Erju and Ms. Zhou heard about the fields, they did not find it strange. They assumed that those fields were just the dowry. They knew all about keeping the secret. The Xiao family had their own problems. The second and the third section of the family were greedy for Qiao Xian's properties, and hence Qiao Xian needed to keep it a secret. Chapter 256. Nosy. The couple got overjoyed and could not wait to immediately implement the plan. Don't worry, we will work hard and watch the fields, and we will never reveal anything to anyone. Ms. Zhou sobbed. I really have no idea what to say, Qiao Xian smiled. I need to hire someone to watch over the fields anyway. We know you well and trust you. Some land officers can be sneaky and the business may not be so easy. So, please, second Uncle Ding, I will check the fields every 15 days, the rest will be in your hands. Ding Erju panicked a little, feeling nervous and anxious. He had never watched over any fields before, and he had no idea whether he would be able to do a good job at it. But he cherished this opportunity that no one else had got. Also, for his family who had already fallen in despair, it was an excellent thing. I will be fully devoted. When the deal was done, Qiao Xian told them with a smile that they should move there early, in fact the next morning. She asked them to wait outside the village. She and Xiao Yunduan would take the bull there and pick them up. Since the deal was a secret, no one from the village should see them together. Ms. Zhou and Ding Erju nodded. As the couple said bye to Ms. Qiao and Ms. Fang, both of them felt a huge load off their chests. They were highly motivated. Good, this is good. Yeah. Ms. Fang and her whole family are nice people. We have to work hard. Yes, of course. At 5th Grandpa Ding's home. 5th Grandpa Ding heard about Ding Ziyashi's fever getting better and let out a sigh of relief. But then he felt even more annoyed. He believed that the Xiao family should not get involved with them. But for the Xiao family he might have forced Ding Erju and his wife to come back home. As of now he looked like the ruthless one. Nosy family. They are burning their money. 5th Grandpa Ding complained and asked 5th Grandma Ding to take 10 eggs, several kgs of rice and some beans, eggplants and chilies to visit Ding Erju and his family. Just go and check on them. They are still part of the Ding clan. 5th Grandma Ding snorted unhappily but did not counter him. Yes, they should not be too cruel because the villagers were spreading all sorts of rumors. But it was their fault. It was her second son and his weird family who knew nothing better. They were weirdos who pretended to be honest and obedient. They were actually the opposite. This matter should not have become such a big deal. 5th Grandma Ding got so annoyed whenever she thought about this. Visit them? Give them food? No way. They don't deserve the eggs. They will never get any food from us. 5th Grandma Ding snapped and took 4 eggs out of 10 and scooped out a bowl of rice. After that, she left for Ding Erzu's residence with the eggs, rice and vegetables. The watermelon was sweet, red and juicy. When Ms. Qiao and Ms. Fang left, Ms. Zhou asked Ding Erju to cut it open and feed Ding Xiaoshi. Ding Xiaoshi loved it and smiled brightly. The couple tasted it too and praised it highly. You're tuning in to the Phantom Sword Chronicles YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.